Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Shooting the Shelf. It's good to have you here. I'm Jesse Arnold, and with me is my co-pilot extraordinaire, Curtis Ackerman. How are you doing tonight, Curtis?
Doing excellent.
Fantastic. I know we were both talking before we went live, getting excited, getting prepped, getting stuff ready for Legion's Con. It's coming up quick, and we're all super excited for it. Where's Curtis?
I'm right here.
He's right there. Can you not see him? But hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to Shooting the Shelf episode. What is this? 31 of this year. So 31 weeks straight doing this show. That's pretty amazing. But hey, let's just dive into it. We've got our guest for the evening. For those of you who don't know him, good. You'll get to meet him tonight and enjoy.
Before that, I just want to add something to you. You know, the whole 31 weeks straight, because there's been some talk amongst the community, the Legions community specifically. I guess there's some sort of trivia thing going on at Legion's Con, and having the Legions shows on there, including the new guys over in Europe, and you got these yahoos on Monday night on the lounge, and then the Lair guys on Tuesday. I mean, they're not doing 31 weeks straight, and we're typically 3+ hours. I'm just saying, in terms of Legion's content, we're up there.
When you're playing a little league game, you don't invite the pros, I guess, is how I'm taking this.
I see what you're saying. Okay. That makes sense now. All right, go ahead. On with the show.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone, all ages, let's give a round digital applause. That works. Round digital applause for the one and only SkeleVader.
Hello, gentlemen.
Up, sir.
I'm glad I'm on with the professionals tonight.
There you go.
I didn't say professionals. Well, I guess I did. I did say professionals, didn't I?
We do have one of the amateurs in the chat. So welcome, Nate Strong.
I don't know sports, so my sports analogy should be completely ignored.
We got quite a few people in the chat. So looks like we got Dave Orkin, Duchess of Darkness, Oz is out there, Legend Collector 1321, Thanos Copter, Star, Steve-O is out there, JMax77, Nate Strong, Joe Gonzalez, Greg, formerly of the Brute Scale. So appreciate everybody watching live, everybody that watches on replay. Thanks for joining us. Should be another very fun show.
Absolutely.
If a lot of the folks, it up.
You're not going to screw it up. I mean,
listen, we've been doing
last week. My computer kept blanking out
all year, and nobody's been able to screw it up so far. So, and if anyone's
going to mess it up, it's going to be me.
Yeah. He made it through Warm Digital Welcome, so we're good.
Yeah.
So many of you in the chat, you are already familiar with and know of SkeleVader. But before we jump into our shelf selections, just real quick, Skele, you just give a quick introduction for yourself.
Yeah. So my name's Ron, but I go by SkeleVader on YouTube and Instagram, and Skelly, which is referring to Skeletor, Vader, which is referring to Darth Vader. I love my villains. My daughters helped me come up with that name. It stuck. I make stuff. I talk about toys. I've got the Toy Frenzy on Thursday nights with Oz and Adam and Sean and Bobby. I think that's it. I think that's all.
Okay.
That's plenty.
All right.
I have one other thing. I'm old, so I have
Aren't we all?
technology issues.
Mm.
So hopefully that will not affect tonight's discussion.
So
Yeah, I
far,
mean,
so good.
I might have to
Knock
wipe
on
a little
wood.
bit of the blood from my ears from beforehand, but other than that, we're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Well, very
right.
cool. Well, here at the top of the show, we do our shelf selections, which I'm sure you're familiar with because I know I've seen you out in the chat before. So,
Yeah.
Curtis, let's go ahead and get rolling on
All
the shelf
right.
selections for the
Let's
week.
pull these up. And the first one goes to me. This is Jamie Bear Fancy Pants, which is a cosplayer doing this amazing She-Hulk cosplay. Thought this was really cool. She's got a couple other really cool outfits that she's got on her Instagram. We've talked about it before, but I'd like to, kind of mix it up with some sketches, some photography, some sculpting, some cosplay. So this was one I saw this past week, and I thought she'd done a really good job. And I can't imagine like how much time it takes to, cover yourself in green, but yeah, it looks really good.
That is. Go ahead.
I don't know how she did it actually, unless it's like because with the leggings, with the tights, that would immediately be rubbing the paint off.
Mhm.
I mean, this is pretty spectacular. Do you think it's digitally touched up later on, or
It might
she?
be, but I've seen some other photos of this same cosplay that she did, like walking around a convention and stuff.
Geez.
So yeah, I don't. If it is, it still looks good either way. So
I mean, I know that they've got the technology with mixing in. They did this a little bit with Jack Nicholson's Joker. They mixed in some acrylic paint with the makeup so that it wouldn't rub off as much.
mm-hmm.
But that gets dangerous when you've got, your skin needs to breathe and stuff. So, but that's really cool, man.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I mean, I just the commitment to the overall look to go through what it would take to do this is impressive.
Yeah.
Like it makes me uncomfortable just because like I hate wearing even like remotely snug fitting clothes, and like the sleeves on that shirt are like tight on her arms, and I'm just like it just makes me so uncomfortable. But yeah, she looks fantastic. That's a great shade of green that turned out really well for She-Hulk. If that was a really good paint job that lasted for a couple of days, she could have just swapped out through like Gamora and maybe
Yeah.
the Star Trek or something the next day. And if that paint was really permanent.
And I saw some other photos. I mean, she is somewhat tall, but she did like a photo shoot where like this other lady was playing like a female version of Daredevil, and like as Murdoch, but she's like way shorter. So just the size comparison made the She-Hulk look even taller. So yeah, good play off of proportions and stuff. But so there's our first one.
Awesome.
Jesse, this is you.
So this is my buddy Luke, my coworker at my full-time job at the frame shop. He's a really talented artist. He absolutely loves Howard the Duck, and when I saw this week, I was like, that's got to be one of my picks. I know that movie is not beloved by many, but those who do like it really like it. So yeah, and I just really like his style and his look. And wanted to shout that one out.
I absolutely hate that movie. Because as a kid, the end scene with the I don't even know the actor's name, but the guy that turns into the big like monster shit, like that just scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Like it was so like the whole as he's like sweating profusely and going through the transformation process, like I yeah, just
Jeffrey, gosh, I can't remember his name. He's the principal in Ferris
Yeah.
Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah,
it affected me so much that I cringed watching Ferris Bueller. Just seeing that actor makes me like get all like squeamish. So
I don't know if you know about that guy, but he had a rough go. He was busted for having some some illegal stuff on his computer. So
Oh wow.
Yep.
he got in trouble. But you know, I love that actor, and I love his previous work, like in Beetlejuice and Ferris Bueller,
Mhm.
and I love Howard the Duck. But I can see why that would like disturb you, Curtis.
Yeah, it's just one of those like my sister I think was like really got weirded out by gremlins. Like once the the cute fuzzies turned into the actual gremlins, like it scared we all have that like that one movie or whatever, and this one was that for me. So I think the art is great. But just thinking about Howard the Duck makes me like, yeah. So
Did either of you guys get the Howard the Duck that came out recently through the Marvel Legends?
mm-mm.
I did not.
I wanted to, but I noticed he didn't have any articulation, and I thought that was really frustrating. I love Howard the Duck, so there needs to be a better figure for him.
The fact that he was a full figure by himself with the Cosmo Build-A-Figure piece, I was like,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. Like I cannot bring myself to pay $30 for Howard the Duck.
Oh geez, was he $30? I didn't even look at
Well,
the
it's
price.
whatever the like 25, 27, whatever the
27,
normal.
yeah.
Well,
Like,
and I think it
should have just
depends on
skipped the Build-A-Figure and just put Howard and Cosmo in a 2-pack.
There you go. Yeah, 100%.
I think it depends on how well the figure's done too, because like, I know people love that Alf figure, and that's not a, it's not a lot of plastic or anything, like it's a small figure, but like there's just a lot of good articulation. The accessories are nice. So I think when you do a figure right, it doesn't, I think they could have probably done Howard to where it was worth it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
even
Howard the Duck
pretty substantial.
Howard the Duck deserves a treatment like this. I mean, I think this is pretty darn amazing.
Yeah,
it came with a lot of great.
Big in you there. They killed that Alf. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, he's so. Think what you will about Alf, but man, this is amazing.
Yeah, like you can get his like jaw all like cockeyed off to one side, like the puppeteer would always do. Where he's like, and it's bigger. It's bigger than it should be for the scale it's in.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's awesome. I mean, it's bigger than the Ewoks. I think
I've been fighting off buying that. Like it's everything out of me not to.
Just get it.
Just get it. The Ewoks are the Wicket. I'm in love with that too. But it's still, the price point is so high.
Especially for Wicket. Figures. He's so small.
He's so small. He's one of my favorite vintage figures. I absolutely love the vintage Wicket.
And this is Luro Tunes. I'm guessing that's on Instagram.
Luro Tunes on Instagram.
Yep. Okay, on Instagram.
Yep.
Next one. This is Visual Approach Photo, which we've had a few of theirs on here. This is the new Doomsday from the McFarlane Doomsday Superman 2-pack. And if it looks different on here from ones that you've seen, it's because they did a black wash on this whole figure, which they've got a separate little video clip on their Instagram of them doing, and it really makes the details pop. And like, as much as I love that figure out of the box, I'm definitely going to have to do this to my figure, because after I saw the transformation, like the before and after pictures, it just looks so much better with that black wash on it. So I'm definitely going to have to do that on mine. So, and then just the shot that they've got it in here is also great, but I just love the way that the details now pop with that wash on it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I know we can get into this later, but I'll bring it up real quick. How many toys we get have amazing sculpts and amazing detail, but because they do try to keep the price points low for the big companies, like you lose so much of it with poor paint applications. Like so many of the Star Wars Black Series, before they started doing those like photo real, whatever face scan, like paint apps, it's like the sculpt is there, but these are just really minimal like face paint. So seeing something like that on here is really, really cool.
Yeah, I know. Stephen Bisciotti has done that with several of the G.I. Joe classifieds. where, like a figure will come out and people will be complaining about the face, that it doesn't look great and that they don't like the sculpt and stuff. But it turns out like the sculpt is actually fine. It's just the paint job was poor, and then he'll repaint it and it'll look amazing. And I've seen several other people on Instagram do that kind of same thing where, they're doing really amazing things with these skulls, but sometimes the paint jobs just don't do it justice. And, throwing some extra little details on there can really make it pop. And I think that goes for this one. I mean, I love this figure anyway. Like if you don't do a black wash, I love this figure, but just with a black wash, it just takes it to a different level. So
very cool.
Beautiful.
And once again, this is at Visual Approach Photo on Instagram. Next is Jesse with another Jesse.
This is Jesse Fairreason. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I know he's done. Curtis introduced me to this guy's stuff through the Shelve selection, so I started following him, and I was seeing this one. Usually, you see a lot of stuff where the ships are like blasting off at night when you can see the the light trails of the blast and stuff. But seeing in like a broad daylight photo, or with like the full sky and stuff, I just think is really cool. And just that straight up shot just reminds me of blasting off from Mos Eisley in the first movie. So
it's so cool.
It's such a fun picture. It's like, all right, here we go. An adventure's about to start. So
yeah, we're gonna get some good practice on saying his name because he's actually with us next week as a guest.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler
alert! Spoiler alert! So yeah, it'll be interesting. I love the way that a lot of his shots, he obviously adds something with, whether it's Photoshop or digital editing, stuff like that, to make some of like the light effects and things like that. But once he's done, some of the photos on his Instagram look like they're straight out of a movie. Like it does not look like it's a toy photo. So I'm really excited to, spoiler alert, look at his stuff next week and just kind of talk about that process with him.
I wonder which version of the Millennium Falcon he's using here for the photo.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well.
I know he does a lot of behind the scenes stuff too. So it may even either describe it or show it if you go on that Instagram. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, folks, just kind of behind the scenes, like what we're trying to do with this shelf selection. I mean, obviously we see this stuff that inspires us from all different types of art, but also trying to spread some awareness on these great Instagram accounts and stuff. And just, so if it's somebody that you see something that's cool that we're showing off, start following them on Instagram, take a look at what they've got and stuff. We really want to spread that love is kind of the idea of this section.
And you know what? I just had an idea. I'll talk to you, Curtis, about it. But real quick, maybe we'll do a viewer shelf selection at some point where we take 10 photos from viewers as shelf selections at some point.
I like that.
And that's awesome.
And do that. So we'll keep your ears out, eyes closed. Something.
Might be, and we're just kind of spitballing here, but might be cool to take some of the ones that we've done throughout the year and pick some of our favorites, and even have like, guests vote on like what they think is the best one of the year or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll talk about some stuff.
I was wondering if it was the micro, the Galaxy Squadron. Yeah,
it might be.
Those are Bill just said he checked the post and I guess he put the description. See, I don't read the post half the time unless I see like dialogue in it, which is because I'm like screen cap so I don't forget it, and then I get distracted to go back and read it yet. So quick hello to some new folks jumping in. Bud's here, Chris, Kevin, John, but a couple new people. I apologize if we missed you, but we appreciate you guys being here and ladies.
Yeah.
This one is mine, and now this was on the Cabal. This is David Dernier. I asked him if he had an Instagram. He said he did, but not for stuff that he's worked on. It's really just more like his own photos and stuff. I told him if he does create one for his work to let us know, and we'll promote that on here. But this was in the Cabal. And I just thought this was an amazing paint job. He was inspired. A lot of people looked at this and said, you know, kind of like a buzz off thing, but he was actually inspired by a Pokemon character. And, you know, did this full paint job of the Sphexian in, you know, kind of a bumblebee colors. And I just think this thing came out amazing. I especially love the stinger and just the amount of work that went into this full repaint. And I think it just really makes this pop. I love it.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, 1,000%. I have not painted one of these. I do have the Block Commander. So just knowing all the details that are on these cosmic figures with like the suits and especially the Sphexian with all the little chitness stuff on their armor and everything. It's and it's yellow.
Yeah.
Like even if he used airbrush, that's yellow. This took him a long time to do.
Yeah.
So
this
cool.
this took a bit. So just a lot of work done there. And you know, I mean, that's not a cheap figure to be painting either. It's not like this is a Legion builder. So yeah, a lot of commitment there. And yeah, it was Beedrill is the Pokemon character that he was doing off of. So
very cool.
All right. Next is Jesse's.
Okay, so when I saw this pop up, clearly it took me 14 hours to see it, but when I saw it, I was like, okay, this is awesome. Ever since it just that kind of like dead human inside a spacesuit is always such a creepy vibe. But I just love that he's got like half buried in the dirt or the sand or whatever there, and like the broken, I don't know if that's the bubble to the helmet or, you know, something of the tool, but I just thought this was really cool looking. It reminds me a little bit of the one astronaut character from Doctor Who and, you know, stuff from like Aliens and different things. So I just really cool image and just the really blurred out background and everything. Just really, really jumped out at me.
Yeah.
He's been there for a while.
Yeah. He's been there a bit. I agree. I think this is just kind of an iconic photo here. Just you know, we've seen this in several movies and stuff like that. You know, just something similar to this, and the fact that he's got him like half buried in the dirt, and I really like that. I'm going to end up with, because I don't use the like the upper piece or the dome on my sentries. I'm going to end up with like 1 million of those extra. I think it'll be interesting because if you only have one, I wouldn't recommend doing this, but to do something like this, but with a intentionally crack the dome so that it looks like, you know, something happened and like, you know, you didn't have air and that's what led to this. I think that would be kind of cool. Like I said, I wouldn't do it if you only have one, but if you've got, you know, 40 of them, like some people, maybe intentionally crack a dome on this for a good photo.
That would be cool.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
That moment in the original Planet of the Apes when Charlton Heston discovers the female pilot there's a crack in her glass and she's been dead for a while, and you hear that screeching sound. That's probably just an air leak in the spaceship because it's crashed. But it's like the timing of that and that scene of seeing a decomposing person behind the cracked glass in space. That's just terrifying on a very visceral level.
Yeah.
God,
Chris, do damage to do a small
ice pick to crack to the dome.
A small crack.
Yeah.
A small crack that you could have like a human face inside the dome, like realizing the crack has happened.
Oh,
and then
that would be good
the
too.
after picture where it's cracked and it's more done and it's just the skull.
Yeah, like spider webs across the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Let's see. What does Dorklayer talk about? He says possibly the greatest sci-fi movie of all time, but I don't know what movie he's talking about.
Planet of the Apes.
Oh, Planet of the Apes. Gotcha.
Yeah.
It is a good one.
It's amazing.
And then this one is me, and this is at Dave Wilkins _ 400-pound ninja. And I first saw this Lobo picture on the left, which, you know, I'm a huge Lobo fan. So immediately I was like, this is fucking awesome. I had to put this up there. But then as I found his Instagram and I started going through some of the other photos, I found this one of steel, which is actually going to be part of the 30th anniversary of Return of Superman, which we talked about on Friday. And that's where, I was like, oh shit, they're making a 30th anniversary. And I started asking Jesse, because he's my comic guy, and started looking into it. And so, yeah, this is actually, I believe, going to be one of the variant covers is of this steel shot here. So just some great work. And, looks like he's doing some work with DC right now. And I just think both of these came out awesome. I can't wait to get those. Really cool. I'm going to try to get every single cover of that 30th anniversary Return of Superman, because I love it. And if you didn't catch us Friday night talking about Death and Return of Superman, if that's your thing, we talk about it for a good couple hours, and it's a great discussion. So check that out.
I love the space dolphins.
Yeah.
That's totally Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, man. That is fantastic.
Yep. Jesse, you got anything for us based on your
sorry, no,
experience?
I got distracted. You said comic guy, so I pulled up the thing and I'm adding all the variant covers to my pull list for you.
Oh, beautiful.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Because, and it looks like the shots that they're doing for that, like this steel one, if you go back and look at the first issue on that Reign of Superman where it had the steel, it's basically the exact same pose. It's just an updated cover. And they do the same thing for Cyborg and for Superboy and for Eradicator as well. They just kind of take that same pose and they're doing an updated shot on it. So it's going to be really cool.
Very cool.
John Fraser picked up on that right away. Thanks for all the fish. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I hear what Dorklair is saying here. Grow another gray hair, because we talked about that on Friday night. Like, just because I remember back, like I was a teenager when this happened, and I loved it. And so now for that to be the 30th anniversary, I'm like, oh shit, I'm old.
That's crazy, right? When we have those reminders, it's like, oh geez.
Yeah. And this last one is Jesse's.
This was that
Bandle 3 Row.
Banda Bro. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but yeah, it's just seeing Slog and the Sphexian kind of like coming up behind him, whether they're going after the guys that are escaping or whatever the story is here. Again, that's one of the reasons what we love about these photos is they're setting up a story. And everybody that looks at it can get a slightly different perspective on it.
Looks like he's got in a light stand there, maybe the Sphexian.
Yeah, so it looks like,
yeah.
And me, I see it.
The crash box. That's not the cell. Yep. That's the what's that called? The first one that he did.
I'm not sure what they're called.
Shit, I can't remember. But yeah, that is the crash box set. Okay.
I absolutely love that Slog.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, that Slog. Okay. I have the biggest toy crush on Slog. It's an amazing figure.
He's a beefy boy.
I just love the way his face looks. I mean, it's like Slushhead from Masters of the Universe meets Krang.
Yeah.
And then just like the proportions just blown out of the water, like just fantastic.
It looks like a very angry ice cream to me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I like it. I'm craving ice cream right now.
I'm a no dome on Slog guy though. I think that face is too good to cover up with that frosted dome. So I'm a no dome guy. But
you're a no. That's what I'm discovering about that tonight. You are a no dome guy.
Yeah, and it's surprising because when they first showed Cosmic Legion 2 years ago, I was like, oh, I really like the domes and that they are transparent. You can see through them and see the characters. But then I got them. I'm like, no, I don't want the domes on there. I just want to see the heads. So
now,
cool.
Skelly, you sent me something. Is that something you wanted to bring up now, or is that for later?
Yeah, I thought I have something to contribute. I'm going to be talking about this particular photo for a while because a lot of Masters fans have been throwing this idea around, and this guy Peter Barbarossa posted this on Facebook, and a friend of the Toy Frenzy show, Alf Inflict, sent this over my way. But this Peter Barbarossa guy took the Faker head sculpt that everyone absolutely loves, the new Eternia Faker, and painted it to look like He-Man, put it on a He-Man body. And it is probably the best He-Man head sculpt we've had since the vintage, in my opinion. And I think, a lot of people talked about it, but Peter Barbarossa is the first person that I see to actually do it. So it's very, very cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's actually got an eBay store where he sells heads like that. And he has a Filmation version head that to me is like it's perfect. And at one point I bought a set for my classics, and it had a Filmation style He-Man, Faker, Anti-Eternia He-Man, and there was one more. Can't remember who it was an Atom.
Okay.
And they're gorgeous. So check out, he's got stuff on eBay. You can reach out to him directly, but he's, on top of, what you're showing here, he does have some other heads. And if you're more into the Filmation look, he's got a really awesome one that I think is the best Filmation style head that's out there.
That's impressive. I mean, if you're a Masters of the Universe fan, you know how the struggle is real trying to get this head sculpt right, but yeah, so I'm new to Peter Barbarossa's work. I'm totally hooked now. This guy, awesome. he did what we wanted to see.
Yeah, and I've gotten, like I said, I got those ones that he actually painted. That's cool. And the paint jobs were perfect on them. I mean, they're like factory paint jobs.
That's fantastic.
So yeah,
I will say this: it looks
recommend.
Like He-Man here and the classic Professor X have the same eyebrow trimmer.
Yeah.
Professional.
Yeah.
Just an interesting.
Or lack thereof.
Or lack thereof. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never understood why Professor X's eyebrows were so they were almost alien.
Yeah.
I had a professor in college. His name was Fred Nugent, which I always remember.
That's funny.
Instead of Ted Nugent's Fred.
Did you call him the Nuge?
He had these eyebrows that were reach out like this, and it was like they were trying to grab you.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you need to trim those suckers. Come on, man, they're out of control.
When I'm 70, that's what my eyebrows would look like. I'm Armenian, so these just keep growing. They're gonna keep growing.
Yeah. No, I listen. Every time I go to the get my hair cut, I'm like, go ahead and give me a trim up here, because I get one or two that come out, and I'm like, I don't need to be Fred Nugent. So yeah. So
I don't know. You got powerful eyebrows, Curtis. I think if you let them just go wild, it's not going to be a Fred Nugent thing. It's going to be just going to intensify the Curtis Ackerman thing.
If the whole thing grew, it would be one thing, but it's like 2 hairs on the one side and 2 hairs on the other side. So
that's even cooler, man.
Yeah,
that's great.
I have these 2 really long hairs, and then everything else is short. No.
Antennae.
Yeah, exactly. I'll look like Mantis.
Man.
So Skelly.
Yeah.
Let's talk. Let's talk about some toys. I mean, obviously, just from your name, obviously it sounds like you were very influenced by Masters of the Universe as well as Star Wars growing up. Just tell us a little bit about your history with toys, and what things that you were collecting as a kid and what things you collect now.
Yeah. Well, my first experience with Masters of the Universe was seeing that my friends had them. So, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But I didn't start watching the cartoon. I didn't start collecting the figures until after I'd seen a few episodes of the cartoon, but really it was, I walked into a Toys R Us, I saw Trapjaw on the wall. So this is wave 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's what really like blew my mind. It's funny because Trapjaw is one of my favorites, but Beastman and Skeletor are like my top.
Yeah.
That's the first figure I bought, and I bought it with my allowance, and then it was like, and it was just an explosion of. I just became deeply obsessed. You guys understand this, but I'm one of you in that my obsession when it begins, it gets really intense. And I was doing as much research as I could possibly do as a kid. Looking through magazines, whatever I could find. I love the mini comics. I like the Filmation cartoon. I still like it a lot. I mean, I love it, but my favorite versions of the characters were in the mini comics.
I was going to ask if you're one of those mini comic snobs.
I am. I'm totally I'm one of those snobs that loves all versions of it. But I just kind of crave the Alcala illustration of his first few issues.
Yeah.
But my experience with toys began with Star Wars. I had two older stepbrothers. They had the Star Wars figures. My one of them was blowing up Greedo in the backyard with a firecracker one afternoon, and I remember feeling like that was tragic because I immediately loved Greedo.
Now, did Greedo shoot first, or did your brother shoot first?
Brother shot first. So it began with Star Wars. So the reason why SkeleVader is such really kind of sticks with me is because there were two very important figures to me that I was never able to get, and that was Darth Vader and Skeletor. So I did eventually end up getting Battle Armor Skeletor, but I really wanted the original Skeletor. I did eventually end up getting. I got really lucky and got the 12-inch Darth Vader, but I really wanted the little guy with the super narrow shoulders and the,
where the sword slid out of his, or the lightsaber slid out of his arm. Yeah.
I finally have those two figures. And then, for a very long period of time, it was all about Masters and Star Wars. And then, I hit puberty, and all that shit changed. I got into punk rock and girls and all that stuff. And then my mom gave away my toys when I wasn't looking. And I understand why she did it, because there were kids that really needed them at the schools that she taught at. And my small but treasured collection was just gone one day, and I kind of didn't look back, and until I started getting the itch again in my 20s for Masters. I would find videotapes. Friends would tape them for me, and I'd watch this show, whenever if I ever had like friends over, I'd put in the tape, so that could be playing in the background. When I finally noticed that some of the forums online, and I didn't really participate in them, but that's where I could find like photos of figures, and and then Classics came out. When Classics came out, I was really kind of like I was in my 30s, and struggling with work and trying to make sense out of life, and I kind of missed that whole thing. But Masters and Star Wars, I got to be specific. The vintage Masters of the Universe figures and the vintage Star Wars figures have been with me my whole life. Even at periods of time where I took breaks, not thinking about them, that didn't last very long. They would always come back in some form. When the new edits of the Star Wars original trilogy started to come out with the shitty computer animation. I won't get into that. But I was like, this is great. I could go toy hunting because I had my license and I could go and do this. I had jobs, and it was an exciting time. And so my interest in that stuff became deeply intertwined with my interest in making visual art. So I got my bachelor's degree in fine art in painting, and was an art. I make art like paint big paintings, abstract paintings, and always my color scheme is masters. I'm looking at them. I'm looking at some of them right now, and they're like purples, blues, pinks, and
They use some wild colors, that's for sure.
Yeah, I love
like
the
everything
colors.
was bright and in your face, and
I love that about. I mean, I love the weirdos, and for me, the weirdos are primarily the baddies. Even in Star Wars, I mean, you can't really consider the Cantina weirdos to be all baddies because they're not all baddies. But we don't know what the heck's going on with some of them. But I love that. I love the weirdos, and I love the baddies. Let's see. Did I answer your question?
yeah. Well, as far as in the past, but like we'll get into what you're collecting now. But I did want to pull this up. Joe says, in his opinion, classics are the definitive Motu line. Would you agree with that?
No, vintage is the definitive Motu line.
That's kind of what I thought you were gonna say.
I do love classics. And in fact, the few classics that I do have, I have Mossman, I have Batros, Batros because I got him for a really good deal, and then I have the Filmation Club Grayskull figures that partially Super 7 and partially Mattel. But I understand why classics are definitive, why people believe that they're definitive, because the articulation's amazing. The sculpts are phenomenal. The paint jobs, these are like, if you guys love Mythic Legions, and I have a deep appreciation for Mythic Legions for this particular reason, the detail, like that is phenomenal. Four Horsemen are amazing artists. So I can see why. But for me, it's the
nostalgia.
The thing that I felt that I love about the vintage line is the wonkiness, the imperfections. I just love that. And This House Catches Fire, duffel bag, vintage figures go in the duffel bag. Gotcha.
Yeah, I get people that say that about classics, and I do love classics. I think they're amazing. For me, my favorite Motu line is the Mondo line. I think that is it's an updated version in a bigger scale. When I hold a Mondo figure, proportionally, it's like me holding a vintage figure when I was a kid.
That's right.
It's like
oh my gosh, I never thought of that.
And so it gives me that same kind of feelings, but it's also an updated sculpt and an updated version of that character. But I do have a vintage collection in the garage, and there's something about, like you said, the wonky, rubber band legged, figures with the squishy heads and stuff. And
fantastic. That's my favorite He-Man head sculpt. And my favorite Skeletor head sculpt. I mean, as I was saying that, I was like, oh, now I'm gonna have to go down the line. And my favorite Merman head sculpt, my favorite Beastman. I mean, it's like it's unending. But I didn't think about that, Curtis. That's actually a brilliant insight. That the proportions would be the same now. I guess kind of. Little me holding a Beastman would be like big me holding that. I mean, I got to say, I'm so excited about that Mondo Beastman coming out, and the deluxe Skeletor. Like Mondo for me, I've been like Merman's a big favorite of mine, and I just was not into the Mondo versions of Merman that came out. He-Man, I was like, not so good. But they released the Skeletor, and I'm like, holy shit, this is mind blowing. This is amazing, and this gives you options to have the figure that have him look like what you see in your mind, and what when you imagine what Skeletor would look like, and then
Yeah.
that Beastman is just like, and the trap jaw looks great too. I don't know. What are your feelings about the traditional colors of, or the I don't know if we should say traditional, the normal colors of trap jaw for Mondo versus the filmation colors of trap jaw for Mondo?
So, no secret to anybody that has watched this channel, I'm not an avid reader. And that was also true when I was a kid. So I am not a mini comic guy. That just never was my thing.
Yeah.
I did like the Golden books. I will admit, I looked at the pictures more than I read them. But I love the Golden books. But for me, I was more of a filmation guy. So that filmation trap jaw looks awesome. But Mondos are so big that you can only have so many. And since I already ordered the black version, I'm not going to try to get both. But if they revealed both of them at the same time, I would have had a really hard time picking which one I wanted to go with.
Yeah.
Because I think they both look amazing. But I'm happy with the original, the black version that I got. I think that's going to be awesome. So
yeah. I could see that. It's kind of cruel to make both of those versions available so close to one another.
I mean, I get that they're trying to maximize the tooling and, but it would have been nice to at least have a little bit of time in between,
Yeah,
like the first one hasn't come out yet. And then you already show the second version. It's like,
and you probably already purchased the Skeletor and the
Battle Cat,
Panther, and the Battle Cat. Panther's on its way. Beastman's on its way.
Just be glad it's not vac metal.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I watched that, Curtis. I will forever have those images ingrained in my brain. You and the Silverhawks back metal.
Every time I think of it, it's like a horror movie playing in slow motion in my mind.
I understand the frustration. I also understand the frustration of being a creator and thinking you can do something, but then realizing you can't, but then realizing you can, and having to sometimes creators have to backpedal because they've discovered a way to do it, and that's okay for us because we're doing stuff for ourselves. Like when I'm making my builds, I'm like, I can fuck it up and not tell anybody about it. I can go back and fix it. And unfortunately, when you got a company that is under scrutiny so frequently because these fans are intense, you can't mess with these fans, right? But you're trying to make stuff for them, and creators and producers and directors. Kevin Smith is an example. They say things because they're excited, or they say things because they understand something in the moment, and then they have to backpedal because they realize that perhaps they were wrong, or that they found a way around it, or made a decision later on. I get it. I understand your frustration with that, and I agree with.
I don't want to go into too much on the Silverhawks because we could do a whole show about it. But I will just say a couple things. Number one, there was a little showmanship in that episode as far as snapping the figure and stuff. There's a little bit of showmanship to it because there's a lot of people that are defending Brian Flynn, and I wanted to make a statement. What I will say is, I appreciate the fact that somebody is bringing us a property that nobody else was bringing us, one that I really care a lot about. And I appreciate the fact that even though it's not ideal, they're trying to do something because they know that the fans want it. The only issue that I have is that when you specifically told us that you couldn't do it, and then you figured out that you could, and then you work on it for 18 months, anytime during that 18 months, you could have let us know, hey, we figured out a way and we're working on it. May work, may not work, whatever, but we're trying, so that we then didn't purchase the other figure. That's the only thing, just be upfront with your, and it's not like, this guy lives in seclusion and we never see him. Like he's doing, YouTube things on his own channel all the time. He's talking to Pixel Dan and all these other people. At any point you could have dropped in there, hey, we've heard you guys, we're going to try to see what we can do.
It's true. And I'm glad you were reminding us all that there are certain IPs out there like Silverhawks that are just simply not available.
Like I've talked about for years, I would love a Battle Beast update, like a 6-inch Battle Beast. Nobody's doing that. And so, it would be great to get something like that. I know they talked about doing like Street Sharks and stuff. And like, I don't care about Street Sharks, but there's somebody that loves them. And so I'm sure for them, like that's great. I just saw that they announced they're doing Flash Gordon figures from the movie, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like I love that, So I mean, anytime that you can get stuff like that hits you in that nostalgic feeling, like that's great.
So the with Masters, it's different because and with Star Wars and Masters is different. We are more so with Star Wars. We're inundated with different versions. Let's just use Beastman for example. No, Trapjaw, because we were talking about Trapjaw. How many versions of Trapjaw are there? Right.
Yeah.
There's
I would probably say the two that have continued at the best over the years has probably been Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Star Wars, where you're constantly getting newer versions of the exact same figures, and it's reinventing itself all the time.
Even with something weird like Leatherhead, it's like how many versions of Leatherhead have there been? But the point is, with Silverhawks, we haven't really had a chance to have multiple releases of Silverhawks, right?
Yeah.
So in a way,
nothing for like 30 years.
Exactly. So and we want our favorite version. So I've got how many versions of Beastman? Which one of them is my favorite version? It's hard for me to. I will always appreciate each version for different reasons. I do have like my ranking, of course, but I do have them still. I haven't gotten rid of them yet. So, having two different versions of one Silverhawks character, it's not really a bad thing. It's just, I understand it's that kind of feeling of being slighted in a way as a collector.
Well, it's and we've kind of talked about this a little bit on our show that, action figures, like the whole collecting of toys is really kind of a dying thing. Like kids today don't really play with toys that much. Everything's electronics. And
I know.
And so, I don't know how many more years or generations of action figure collecting we're actually going to have. So when you get something, you want it to be the ideal version that you want. And the same thing when they bring something back to TV or to a movie or whatever. Like if they were to make a Masters movie, which they've talked about for the last 20 years, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But if they were to bring one back, it's going to be very hard to please a Masters crowd because nobody wants the exact same thing. And whatever you put out there, most people are going to hate it for some reason or another. And it's because they have an idea in their head on what they want it to be, and that's what they want to see.
So I know what I like, but it's so funny. You said hate it, right? I know what I like, and I know what I don't like. But the toy community has a tendency toward clumping their feelings into love and hate, which is really weird to me. Like, because I feel like all of this should be attached to a kind of joy, whether the toy companies screw it up or they get it right. We should have gray area feelings rather than love and hate. And that to me, it's always kind of bothered me. But to have strong feelings makes a lot of sense to me. I have strong feelings about many of the He-Man head sculpts, you know. I have strong feelings about, you know, Revelation, even though I like it at times and I dislike it at times. I think that we gotta, when we start to get so angry that it ventures into the hatred territory, we got to try and put ourselves in check a little bit, because at least we have it. And then you said something really interesting, which is like, when is this going to die off? Well, it's going to die off with us. So we better enjoy this shit, right? Like, this is a fleeting moment in the history of consumer culture. And for us to, you know, hate the thing that essentially is probably most of the time giving us a kind of joy is
I mean, like you were saying, like, you know, most of us, or a lot of us, have, you know, we collected toys as a kid, and then we kind of went through this phase where we stopped collecting toys, and we you know, we were grown up at that point, and then we came back to it. Well, we came back to it for a reason, and the reason is because it supposedly brings us joy. But then, you know, you get things like that you're talking about, like this. I see Jesse starred this one from Thanos Copter. Our fandom's killing franchises, and I think in a way that is true. Like one of the reasons why, because I was really big into the Motu community, and that's where I actually first saw you, as kind of some of the, you know, Motu, like they would do lives with, you know, selling vintage figures and things like that. I would see you on those, and Fans of Power on Sunday nights and that kind of thing. So, you know, but I moved away from that Motu community when I found Legions, because that Motu community can be so toxic. Like, you have the guys that all they care about is the mini comics, and that's their storyline, and everything else sucks. And you got people that are like, if you don't collect vintage and you don't have things that are on the original card in mint condition vintage, you know, like everything else is just bullshit. And then some guys that love classics, and some guys that love this and that. And like, but we can all love what we love without hating on the other folks.
Like, I agree. Yes. Amen. Like, that's my biggest problem with any fan community, is that they, you know, it's before you know it, you enter it with joy, and before you know it, you're in high school again. And that's a huge problem. And that's what I mean by, as fans, we got to keep ourselves in check. We got to remember. I learned this from therapy. You know, it's a challenge to take perspective. So challenge yourselves, like, give yourselves some space from yourself, and check your hate. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I love the vintage figures, but I love the mini comics, but I also have a deep love for classics, and I also have a deep love for Filmation. You know, it's
I mean, we can all agree that New Adventure sucked, but you know.
Wait a minute, though. However, that's another example of how I look at this guy. I mean, I absolutely hated. This is me like contradicting myself, right? But when I was an angry kid, like in '89, when I first saw this, just entering my like rebellious era, I was like, that's not my Skeletor.
Right. I love when people say that. That's not my Skeletor.
That's not my Skeletor, you know. Right. But I've since learned that, like, I was fucking wrong. Like, those figures are brilliant. The cartoon is not great. I mean, we'll give it that, right? The cartoon, right. I fall asleep, right? I'm old. I fall asleep watching everything, but I fall asleep in the first like 2 minutes when I try and watch one.
It's very hard to watch.
But I don't hate it, and I also absolutely love the villains from that line now. I mean, it's some weird stuff. My wife was saying, like, in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, people were getting into, you know, rock, alternative rock was coming around. People were getting into hippie culture again, and drugs were part of that. And it's like, well, maybe they were just like, maybe they were just tripping out, and like yes, let's come up with a character named Butthead, and he butts things with his head, and he looks kind of like a rock. Like, let's come up with this is why I love Slog so much. Like, let's come up with this like fleshy, bubbly green thing, and he has to have water on the brain, like, in order to survive.
Oh, I mean, Slog looks like he would totally fit in on New Adventures.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
well, so much of, I mean, I feel like Cosmic Legions is really kind of could potentially enter into that territory in phenomenal ways.
Yeah.
And someone asked in the chat, I saw it a little earlier, if I had any of the Motu Legions tribute figures.
Yeah.
I because of Matthew Deutsch, I have Bryophytus and Mephitor. So two of my favorite figures from the Motu line, Stinkor and Mossman, and I absolutely love them. They're amazing figures.
But you should get more then, because those are the two worst. So,
well, that's what people say. That's what people say.
That is Curtis's opinion.
I've seen some. I've seen the other ones. But I'm like the rest of us. I have a limited budget on what I can get, and I just can't help myself. I'm more like just more interested in what they're doing with these Masterverse figures. And
are you going to PowerCon next week?
God, I wish.
Oh, that new Manny Faces one they have coming out is by far, I think, the best that they've done. It is so good.
So Oz, one of the co-hosts of Toy Frenzy, I think he's in the chat. He said he's going to try and pick one up for me. Yeah, that thing is amazing. Yes, I 100% agree. Some of the other ones, I'm like, they're okay. Yeah. I get it. But like the Trapjaw, that one of the first, it was like the first or one of the first tribute figures. The Panther character, I can't remember their names. I'm sorry. I know that
okay.
You guys know, but
that's all right. Purplore.
Purplore, yes. I saw Purplore at PowerCon 2020. No, what was the last one in Anaheim? Was 2020?
Yes.
21.
No, it might have been.
Because 2020 was COVID year. So
that's right. 2021.
20.
It was either 20 or 21. I can't remember. I just know it was my first
in Jersey.
Okay, so
that one.
PowerCon, not Legion.
Oh, I thought. Okay, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
PowerCon.
Yeah. You're right,
so that was my first and last PowerCon, but I saw Purplore there, and I was just like, my heart was aflutter. That is a beautiful figure. But they've gone up in price, and it's like, there's some that I just feel like they'll come around when they come around.
Yeah.
For me. But yeah, Four Horsemen. I totally left this out when the 2002 cartoon came out, the Mike Young Productions one.
Yep.
Yeah.
That cartoon's amazing too, by the way.
It's an amazing cartoon. That really marked a really powerful return for me to appreciating Masters, and I was working at jobs where I could watch it on the screen, and in the sneak time with the 2000X series, and I got a few of those figures. That's when I first realized that Four Horsemen were the shit, man. They are so good at what they do. And it's the first time that I ever realized that where I really appreciated the artistry of action figure making, that this thing could be something else. A lot of folks have that experience with Todd McFarlane, but my experience came with the Four Horsemen 2000X line.
See, and I've seen the 2-ups. They have the at the studio, they got the 2-ups for the 2000X and the Stactions. I think the Four Horsemen designs for those figures are amazing. I think the toys were shit. Like the toys
were not very good.
They were just very like lackluster articulation. They took these sculpts that the Horsemen did and put them on these like the toys just aren't very good in my opinion.
Well, they're immovable, and they're kind of cheaply made. but the sculpt shines through. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have
Yeah, the stactions are amazing. And if you see the
Oh.
2-ups that they did of those figures, like they're just they're so good. Like
my
they've got the Stratos one at the studio, and it's like, oh, I just want that 2-up so bad.
this
Oh, yeah.
staction of Clawful is a masterpiece. I mean, and then this guy.
What and just what Mike Young production did to create both of those. Like you take both of those and compare them to their Filmation counterparts. Like their Filmation counterparts are very goofy looking, and like they look badass. Like you wouldn't want to mess with that Clawful.
No, you wouldn't. But then here's my issue with Mike Young. Just a small issue. The Mike Young Productions. Clawful's voice. Come on. Like, this guy's a badass. Like, I know he's dumb, but he doesn't have to sound dumb. You know what I mean? Every time I hear those voices, him and Whiplash and Ram Man, I'm like, oh, come on. I think they were all like the same actor, maybe, because they all sound kind of the same.
Very derpy,
it's funny. It's funny, but I've loved Clawful since I was a kid, and I've always thought of him as, even though he's super derpy, like I've always thought of him as a badass.
The only thing I didn't like about the whole MYP is that we didn't get enough of it. That I guess they were messing around with the time that they had it aired, and so it didn't really get good ratings because nobody knew when it was on, and so we only got the 2 seasons, and the second season was very Snake Men heavy, and we never got to the Horde. So I would have liked to have seen more of it, but everything that they did, like that episode with Stinkor, like his whole backstory and stuff,
So
and how
good.
It's amazing. Yeah,
It's so good. And I love Gizmo from Gremlins. So seeing that Stinkor was kind of like a Gizmo before he became
It like I guarantee Jesse's never seen the Stinkor episode of MYP, but I think he would fucking love it because it's basically like him turning from this little like fuzzmonk cute creature to like this badass, Stinkor.
It's Sean has told me all about it, so I do know what you're talking about. I have not watched it.
I think you would love that episode. If you just watched a single episode of MYP, that would be the one I'd recommend for you.
I tried watching it when it was coming out, but I was in college or out, and I didn't have access to the channel it was on a regular basis, so I never got to keep up with it. And I tried watching it a year or so ago because I guess a bunch of them were on YouTube at the time. And the quality of what I was watching was so bad, it was driving me insane. Like, not that the show itself, but whatever channel had recorded it or whatever. I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Okay, here it goes. Sorry, my earphones died. So how's the sound? Is it okay?
It's fine. I'm not hearing any echo or anything. So I think,
oh, good. Whew.
I don't know. Good. You hear an echo, Jesse? Oh,
a little bit.
It's quiet.
I'm gonna turn down your volume. I'm gonna turn down you guys just a little bit, so maybe there'll be less. So I'll hopefully it'll be fine. I got them charging again, so I can put them back in if I need to.
Okay. All right. I think we're good.
I wanted to jump back real quick to the whole fandoms ruining the properties and stuff. It's something I've seen. There's a lot of it going on. Social media has definitely exacerbated that, I think. It's, the fans have always been very defensive or rabid about things. It's just now they have a much bigger forum to discuss this a lot more publicly than a private forum or a message board or something. We between toys, and I work at a comic shop, so I see stuff about comics and movies and everything. A different chat I was in with some people today were talking about
we're starting to get some static from you, Skelly.
All right. Well, does it go away if I mute myself?
It right there, it was fine. Hold on. I mean, it goes away when you mute yourself, but I don't know if you want to do that every time you're not talking, but
Is it back?
yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, that's awful. All right, well, I'm gonna keep myself muted. Jesse, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. You're
Okay.
You're on awesome path.
Okay. So, this chat was a group chat I was in with some people, and they were talking about how much we see so much stuff coming out before whatever we're waiting for ever comes out. Looks like he's going to go try to find some other headphones.
Okay.
You know, back in the day, you know, like in the 90s when I was really getting in, I would have like a movie of the summer. I would, you know, so it was the Ninja Turtles one year. The next year it was like the Rocketeer, Batman Returns. You know, I would get like the movie souvenir magazine that Topps would put out. I'd get like all the trading cards, you know, the little candy dispensers. Like I'd get all that stuff. And you'd get the little things in the magazines, but they usually came out either right before or right after the movie. And if you got them before the movie, it didn't spoil the movie. You know, it didn't like give away anything. And then you would get to see maybe like there'd be like a special behind the scenes feature that came out, you know, after the movie came out in the theater, like a couple months later, right before video release or something. But now, you know, and it's not social media's fault. It's the way people use social media, both the people who post the stuff and the people who react to it. You know, here's an on-set photo of so-and-so in this costume. It's the first time we've seen this superhero character. And yeah, it's like, cool. You know, we were all speculating whether or not that character was going to show up. And now we have concrete evidence. And then, you know, and it's like 6 months, a year before the movie comes out or the show. So we get all this time to build up things we like or don't like about it before we even know anything about it.
Yeah.
So because you talked about Kevin Smith, and I like He-Man. I'm not as diehard of fans as Skelly or you have been, Curtis. Like I loved it as a kid, and then like I don't even remember New Adventures. Like I know Curtis is only a couple years older than me. I'm pretty sure we're probably around the same area there, Skelly.
I didn't catch either New Adventures or MYP when they were actually on. I didn't find out about either of those two until I was an adult.
Okay, so New Adventures, like I said, I'm a couple years younger than you, so I was onto the Turtles or whatever, I guess, when that was coming out. I don't even know when that came out. Like I have no memory of it. Or maybe I just didn't like it enough that I have blocked it from my memory. I don't know. But where was I going with that?
Can you hear me okay?
It's
got the buzz back, but I don't hear
buzz.
it go.
All right, hold on.
I think because you've got your microphone from your earbuds, but then you also got the microphone in front of you. So if you disconnect the microphone in front of you, I think you should be good. Well, you were talking about fandoms and collecting the stuff before, and the spoilers.
Like the nostalgia aspect of it, like I get, like I've got some of the Origins figures. I left them on card. I got He-Man, Skeletor, Evelyn, and Teal'c. I'm like, I got 4 and the Battle Cat, just because I'm like, I just want something to represent, even though it's not the exact figures, it looks like those. And I think I have like a Man-at-Arms and a Stinkor that I bought. Like they're both super floppy and like just fall over all the time. But I have them, and I was like, I'm not going to spend $30-$40 for like a better condition one. I just want it on my shelf to have some actual vintage, you know, stuff on this shelf. But like this is I'll finish up this thought with fandom stuff. It makes me think of all right, don't judge me. Well, you can judge me if you want. The 2005 Peter Jackson King Kong. A lot of people like either really liked it, or most people were like, oh, it was too long. It was this, that, you know, they have lots of opinion about it, which is totally fine. Everybody's got different opinions. We were just discussing that. But I think one of the messages in that movie is that sometimes we love something so much we destroy it. Because like Jack Black's character, you know, Carl Denham wanted to share this thing with the world. I mean, he wanted to make money off of it, but it was this thing that he could share with everybody, and his love of wanting to share it with everybody killed so many people on that boat. It killed people in New York City, ended up killing the you know, Kong himself. And I think that's like a comparison to fandoms, because I remember a couple years ago, I don't like Rick and Morty. It just is, it's not my jam. I have no ill will towards anyone who likes it or enjoys it. That's totally fine. But like the whole thing when they brought back the sauce at McDonald's or whatever, because it was some gag in Rick and Morty,
yeah,
I don't remember. I don't even know what it was. It wasn't
the
soy
Mulan
sauce.
Yeah,
it was like a some sort of Asian sauce.
Yeah.
But like how people were like getting angry and like threatening people at McDonald's and stuff. I'm like, over a cartoon? Like,
Yeah.
come on. Like, it's one thing if you're making jokes with friends, you know, and that sort of thing. But like when you're taking it to people who are working a minimum wage job that they probably don't even want to be at, but it's what they could get. Or it's a kid for crying out loud. You know, it's just a kid going to high school, you know, first job. And here comes some angry 40-year-old dude who like,
this is exactly the problem. Like who's in the crossfire? These poor kids who work at Target and at Walmart, you know, the kids working at McDonald's in this case. It's like, it is so sad. It's so sad that a person's, like a fan's battle with the company puts these other people in the middle. And I've seen videos. I mean, you know, people like me who love Masters of the Universe so much, I would never do this, but they are mean, downright mean out there when they're looking for Moss Man or whatever. And Moss Man's on everybody's tongue right now. But how does this sound, Curtis? Does this sound a little bit better?
You sound great.
Oh,
yeah, you sound great.
Thank goodness. See, go back to wires, folks.
I'll say the one other thing, you know, with collecting, like I was a huge pop collector for a while, and I was trying to get like the ad icons ones. So like that were based on cereal, or like the Twinkies ones and all this stuff. And there was a glow in the dark one that was Target exclusive. And there was a story that came out about a guy who assaulted a woman getting in her car in the parking lot to steal her Twinkie pop.
Yeah.
And then
that's insane.
He assaulted it. I don't know if she was like elderly, and I am not ageist. Take that back. I was defending the kids. If you're talking about the angry 40-year-olds, look, I mean, just don't be a jerk. Doesn't matter how old you are. And you know, it's a pop. It was a $10 pop at Target, and that one didn't even like go up in spectacular value. You know, like I'm not saying buying as a speculator is necessarily a bad thing, but
I think what you're saying,
it can bring out bad behavior in people.
Let me just jump in real quick, because what you were saying about loving something so much that you kill it made me think about Of Mice and Men. Like,
oh, totally, right?
Like,
absolutely.
Like Lenny, you've never seen Of Mice and Men?
Nope.
Oh, yeah, okay. It's one of my favorite books, actually.
So
I've also not read it, but I do.
Jesse, basically the gist of it is, and if you haven't read it by now, you're not going to read it or watch it, so I'll spoil it. But basically, do
you know something I don't?
There's these two guys that one of them is just kind of a normal dude, but he's looking after this other guy that's got some mental deficiencies.
Yeah,
and they're traveling from town to town and finding jobs and just whatever. And so he's trying to take care of this guy, but this guy's not only has he got mental deficiencies, but he's like this big, strong, ox of a man. And at one point he ends up loving these puppies. Like, he's got these puppies and he's hugging them and squeezing them, and he ends up squeezing them to death, basically. And then when this girl finds out about it, he does the same thing. Like, he's trying to keep her quiet.
No spoilers.
He's like I said,
No,
right now he's not.
It's been
But
around long enough. That's
he
fair.
ends up accidentally killing her as well. And so, you know, when you said that, that's what I thought about collectors. Like we do that. Like we love something so much that we can destroy it. But on the flip side, there's also people that will shoot down any sort of criticism and make you feel like you're not being heard. And like, so, you know, they'll put out things and then somebody will say, well, this isn't for you. This isn't,
that's too bad. I hate
whatever.
that.
And that's just as toxic in my opinion, because people can want to watch something or want to buy something. And if they've got criticism, they should be able to throw out their criticism. Now, you know, like Skelly was saying, I think that can be areas of gray. It doesn't have to be, you know, I hate everything about this. I love everything about this. Like there can be shades of gray in the middle.
Yeah.
But you know, just being civil to one another, it goes a long way. And that's what I do love about the Legions community and what I really left the Motu community for, because there was just a lot of that. And it's not just to the Motu community, because I hear that there's stuff like that in the Star Wars community and Joe community and stuff like that. You know, it's just, you get into these groups and people have these hard stance on one thing or another, and anybody that doesn't think like they do is wrong or stupid or an idiot or, you know, whatever.
So here's the deal. If we love something, we gotta fight for it. And Mythic Legions, the more popular it becomes, the more you're going to have to fight for that kind of positive thinking, a kind of welcoming of critique and understanding critique and understanding that some people are going to be happy and some people are not going to be happy. Mythic Legions is still at I wouldn't say infancy stage. I'd say like preteen. Like
it's like a honeymoon phase.
It's like a honeymoon phase, and people love it, and it's gonna, as it gets bigger, because it's phenomenal. The danger is, as Jesse was saying, people, and it makes me really sad. First of all, and we fight for this on Toy Frenzy on Thursday nights. When fans of Masters say I can't be a part of it anymore because the community sucks. You know, the community has disappointed me in some way, because, and no matter what. Oh, here's a good example. If you're religious, people screw that up all the time.
Oh yeah.
Right.
If you talk to at least in my experience, when you talk to somebody that is very anti-Christian, it's because they knew somebody in their life that claimed to be Christian that did bad things.
Exactly. Or pointed fingers at others without trying to appreciate their perspective.
That would be the equivalent of me walking into a instrument store, a music store, and hearing somebody play Sweet Child of Mine and playing it terribly, and hating Guns N' Roses because this person in the music store played it terribly.
Exactly. So,
you know, it's not Guns N' Roses' fault that this person can't play that song.
100%. So here's my proposition. You love an IP, you love a genre, you love something because you've spent your life with it and you appreciate it.
Yes.
Fight for it, because there's always going to be people that stink up the room. There's always going to be a person that stinks up the room, and you fight for it. And that doesn't mean getting out there and picketing, and that just means getting on there and trying to like spread positivity.
Well, and it doesn't mean that the other people that think opposite of you or different than you
are
wrong or stupid or anything else too.
It means appreciating perspective, understanding perspective, and maintaining a kind of civility, because that's really the big. I think humans are really struggling with civility right now. Not to get really big and philosophical, but
let's do it.
I think we're really struggling with how to be civil with one another.
Yep.
And because when we get our feelings hurt, we want the whole world to know, and we can use this platform right now to do what I guess I'm kind of doing it right now, right? You know, getting behind the pulpit and kind of preaching a little bit about what the issues are. But there are people out there making good statements. There are people out there that are offering critique, and there are people in the toy communities that are fighting for a kind of perspective taking that we need, acceptance of critique, but also accepting of mistake. And I feel like it's our duty to try and maintain that kind of civility.
There's also got to be some part of that which is also pick your battles kind of thing too.
Exactly. Because, where can you walk away, right?
Right.
When should you walk away?
We live in this technology age where, like, I mean, it's totally different than anything in all of history because the president or some celebrity or something can tweet something out there and I can reply directly to them. I can throw my comments directly to the president of the United States or directly to, some celebrity, which you could never do in the past.
Yeah.
And not only can you do that, but people feel the need to do that. Mm-hmm. So you see something posted online and somebody else, and we do, even in as much as I love the Legions community, even within the Legions community, you'll have this to where somebody will post something that you think is just an asinine statement, about, just bashing the Four Horsemen or saying, they had one quality control issue and just like whatever. And everybody feels the need to comment on it and tell them why they're wrong. And like, sometimes it's just not like, it's not even worth it. Like you rarely, I would say rarely, if ever, see somebody win an internet argument or change somebody's mind in an internet argument. It doesn't happen.
There is no winning.
Right.
It really comes down to this. Think before you talk or think before you type, people. When our daughters and my wife and I went to go see Barbie, the Barbie movie, I knew that if I immediately wrote a post on Facebook about how elated I was about how good that movie was, I knew I would probably not articulate it in the way that I wanted to, the way my gut wanted to or my heart wanted to. So I took a few days to think about it because that's how we should project ourselves to the world. We should think before we speak. I will stand by that movie. It's a brilliant movie, but that doesn't mean other people can't have their feelings about it. I do think that, but before somebody reacts, like before a person reacts negatively to something, they should think about how they're going to do it. And I think you said it quite wisely, Curtis. You said part of my reaction to the Silverhawks thing with Super 7 was knowing that it's partly theatrical. So you're thinking about how you're going to do this, how you're going to project this thing you object to in a way that that works for the moment, but might have some sort of resonance in a different way later on, maybe even like comedic resonance. So we got to if we're going to offer a critique, we got to think about how we're going to do it. If we're going to offer a compliment, we got to think about how we're going to do it. And with Star Wars and with Mythics and with Masters of the Universe and with Barbie, every time we step out and we say our strong feelings, we are going to affect somebody. And so we just got to be very careful. And that's relationship building 101, right? They've got to think about how they react to you.
I just think, we really do have to count our blessings and listen, I mean, if people want to call me out for being a hypocrite, you can do that because I am, I'm as guilty of this shit as anybody else.
Every human being
just
is a
so
hypocrite,
everybody knows,
right?
I did glue that figure back together. I specifically picked a figure that I knew had no articulation in the waves, so it didn't matter.
Well,
so once I snapped it, I glued it back together, and it's back in my display.
That's the wizard behind the curtain, though, right?
Behind the curtain kind of thing.
Yeah.
But just appreciate what we have because I see this. A lot with the Star Wars. I mean, I did not like the sequels on Star Wars. I wasn't the hugest fan of Andor. I think it's decent, but I think that it was drawn out, whatever. But there's other things of I liked Obi-Wan. I know a lot of people that hate Obi-Wan. I
liked it
really
too.
enjoyed Boba Fett, and I know people that hated Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that we're getting new Star Wars. We're
Yeah.
getting, like, it is a property that they're putting stuff out for us to watch. So some of it's going to be to your liking, some of it's not, but at least appreciate the fact that it's not dead. You know, because there's a lot of properties that don't have anything new coming out, and there's nothing on the horizon. I mean, we've been waiting for a new Motu movie for 20, 30 years, and they keep teasing us that, oh, there's new casting and there's new this and that, and it just doesn't happen. So, you know, appreciate what's out there.
Well, you know, Jesse, you said, wait, did you say that you had seen the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie?
I have seen it, yes.
So what was your opinion on that?
I really liked it. I won't get into a lot of it, but I think the Turtles have benefited in that their ability to relaunch a new take on it has been very timely. Like when the first generation of people that were into the cartoon, not the comic, because the cartoon was already a huge divergence from the comic.
Huge, enormous.
So that was geared towards kids, which was fine. But like as those kids were growing out of that and into other things, they shifted it and they tried that what do you call it, the next generation, no, the next mutation or whatever, which I don't think worked for anybody.
Well, they did the movies first, right? The movies were a little bit more serious take than the cartoon.
Well,
but
right, but I just mean like, but they're like, as far as like the ongoing merchandising and stuff, like there wasn't a lot of movie stuff that came out at the time, but you know, the cartoon, I guess I should have said the cartoons, they keep reinventing themselves, you know, and then they kind of let it sit for a while. And then there was the early 2000 series, then there was the 2012 series, and then Rise, and now this, like they keep timing it right. And yeah, it might not be for everyone. Like I've not watched every version of them, but I really liked this new take on it. It was similar enough, but different enough that I didn't know exactly how it was going to play out. Like it's the Turtles, they're going to beat the bad guy. And, you know, I mean, that's just the way that story is going to work. But I really liked how they put a different spin on something we've already seen. I feel like a lot of other properties like He-Man, G.I. Joe, different things that in that same kind, they came out of that same time frame. Haven't had that opportunity to kind of reinvent themselves as often, or when they have, it's been shut down cold by the fans. And they never get that chance to grow and try something different. Like I know the 2000X show was similar but different, and I think the CG show Netflix had was really good. Like I really like that. Like it was definitely more a younger kid focused show, but there was enough in there that I have no children. I watched that voluntarily on my own, and I absolutely loved it. You know,
but it's not meant for you, Jesse.
But that's okay. But that's okay. I mean, you know, but if I watched it and I didn't like it, I would just stop watching it. Like Smallville, I got through 8 or 9 years of Smallville, like up to the last season, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not enjoying that. I'm spending an hour every week watching the show that I'm no longer enjoying. Like no one's going to clap me on the back and say, good job, you made it through the entire series.
There's the reason why I brought up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is because there's a particular belief system that I adhere to. And that is that if you're a creative and you don't work on your craft regularly, that muscle will atrophy. So if you are a filmmaker like George Lucas, for example, and you had a run of films where you're doing things for a while and you haven't directed a movie in a very long time, that muscle is atrophied. This is when critique really comes in handy for us and practice it comes in really handy. So the act of doing and doing and doing, and the act of listening to others and listening to others and listening to others is going to help us get that atrophied muscle back into shape. This is very similar to people who are athletes, right? So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has this really fantastic history of working that muscle. I mean, the periods of time where it's quieted down have been very brief. Since
I don't even know that there has been.
Has
there been a moment within the last 30 years that there hasn't been turtles in some
like this
Yeah.
brief, and so whoever's working on a new version of it, they're working on it, and they're piggybacking off of the previous version. That's how something gets better. That's the problem with the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, in my opinion. Is that there wasn't enough practice happening between now and then. And George Lucas, if I were to talk to him, he might completely disagree and prove that he was busy working on stuff in the meantime and whatever. But I feel like the danger of taking time away from something causes that muscle to atrophy. Masters has suffered from that, and but the fans got to let. The fan base has to let there be time to get warmed up again. And we're in the middle of warming up.
And it doesn't have to be all black and white, like you said. Like like when I watched Kevin Smith's version, like there were things that I really loved. I loved the updated look of it. I think the look of it was great. I think the overall story was entertaining. I liked how each episode kind of rolled into the next. Even though they had like different directors for each episode, it felt like there was a good flow amongst it.
I agree.
But then there was things that I didn't like how they killed off, a couple characters like Fisto, like super quick with no, like it just felt like a wasted death.
Not fair,
Adam was like too puny, and like even compared to like Tila, like Adam's like, no, I don't expect him to be the same size as He-Man, but like you don't have to make him like this puny nothing either. So there's things that I don't like about it, but overall I was just happy that we got something, so just because hell, like even like I love the comic book movies. I watch all of them regardless of DC, Marvel, whatever. There's bad ones, there's good ones. I watch every single one. There was a time where you were lucky to get one of those a year.
Absolutely.
And now we're getting shows and 3 or 4 movies a year and all this. Like, it's a good day and age that we're living in, that we have access to this stuff, that we have this stuff available to us. Yeah. So even though everything may not be for you, even though you may watch Morbius and think it was absolute trash, the fact that we got a Morbius movie, somebody's happy about that. Like somebody was a huge Morbius fan that was like, hey, at least we got a Morbius movie finally.
And somebody's going to discover Morbius as a comic book character by happening upon this movie.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh, that's kind of a cool concept. And then they're going to do their research and they're going to find out like how rad that character is.
That's one thing I wanted to bring up is I get really tired because it's usually a lot of guys our age that say this.
Mm-hmm.
Not only, but a lot is, oh, I don't like that ruined my childhood. I'm like, no. Like if you loved the Filmation He-Man cartoon as a kid, you still love the Filmation film cartoon as a kid. Like just because they do something new that's not the same thing, it's not ruining that moment unless you're letting it ruin it.
Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Like, why would you hand that power over to someone else and allow them to ruin your childhood? Why can't people
I will say though, the critique that I understand is when they change something that somebody feels very strongly connected to.
Yeah.
In a drastic way, and that doesn't add to the story. Like if you're just doing it to do it, I don't get that. So those like, if they were to have made Duncan Man-at-Arms in the Motu, if they would have made him like a female for some reason, like why would you do that? Like doesn't make sense, but sometimes they do that kind of stuff and it's like, oh, why did you change that character? Like that's
like Duncan can hand the baton over to a woman to take over that role,
which is what they did. They brought in Andra, and that's fine because they created a new character, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. In MYP, they brought in a Zodak that it's now a black Zodak,
Mhm.
but he's got a different spelling of his name, and he's not the
Mhm.
same Zodak. He's a
Yes.
different Zodak. That's fine. Like it's
Yeah.
it's a different character. So just things like that. Like
Yeah.
if you're going to change it, or if you're going to introduce something new and it adds to the story, that I'm perfectly fine. But if you just change it for the sake of changing it, sometimes I can understand where people would get upset by that.
Yeah.
But does that ruin your childhood appreciation?
No. It doesn't.
No,
It doesn't.
no.
No,
Okay.
to your point, and Dork,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't ruin anybody's childhood. But I understand people feeling strongly about that.
Yes.
That
Sure.
character.
Like
I-
we know I say a lot of negative things about the X-Men movies and the X-Men cartoon because I just try to get under Curtis's skin sometimes. I genuinely don't enjoy them, but I don't dislike them to the point where like I want to insult people who do like them.
and
Like you're
and
saying, just because
watching-
we don't agree doesn't mean we're enemies on a subject like this.
Yeah, I mean,
a cartoon or a movie.
It's not going to stop you from enjoying those comic books.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I don't like the current comic books either because they're doing stuff I don't enjoy, but I still like the stuff that I
don't
got
like
into.
Vox Machina.
Exactly.
I know there's people that feel like so strongly that it's like the best show of all time. I just don't. It doesn't do anything for me, and I've tried. I've tried several times to watch it, and it's just not for me. But
That's fair.
for those people that do like it, that's great. I appreciate the fact that they've got something that they enjoy.
It's a to each their own thing, and that's the part that I think that we're in a period of time right now where folks don't want to make room for other folks and other folks' mistakes and other folks' opinions, and I think that that's problematic. We're all I understand that me saying that is adding to that because I have strong feelings about that. Like that's how we should be, right? And who am I to say how we should be? But I do find that, if you look at the history of humanity, many of our issues have come from people not wanting to allow space for others. So there it is. We've solved the world's problems by talking about toys. Once again,
just love one another. Like that's
yeah,
it.
that's
like,
right.
Like that's pretty standard. Like if you just treat people with kindness and just try to appreciate and see where they're coming from, that's the best way to be. So there's nothing. I don't know anybody that would disagree with that and say, no, you should treat people like shit and be an asshole to them. Like,
people do forget
Go ahead.
People do forget that they've made mistakes. That's where the biggest thing happens. Like we have a tendency.
No, I haven't.
We see we see other people's mistakes and we're like, that guy's a idiot, right? And then, but immediately we're forgetting how many times we've been that idiot. And we gotta remember, and we gotta make space for others. What were you gonna say, Jesse?
I was gonna say the elusive they, the them that runs society.
Society.
The man.
The man.
It feels like get people to pick a side, whatever it is. You like the Barbie movie, you don't like the Barbie movie, fight about it. Distract, and I'm not trying to get all conspiracy theory, distract people so we can, dissect the aliens in secret, or hey, there may have been aliens.
That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Jesse.
It's all this stuff because none of it. Not that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't. So I feel like there's this manufactured thing, and I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older or if it's actually there that I'm seeing it more, where it just feels like it's like Fox News or CNN, this or that, Christian or atheist, Jewish or Muslim or whatever the different sides of things can be. You have to pick a side and you have to fight about it. But for a lot of things, you don't. There are some things that I think that are very clearly right and wrong.
Oh,
about
yeah,
how you
absolutely.
treat people.
Yeah, I mean,
There might be some gray areas on
loose
details of
figures
things.
in your collection is way better than in box.
Okay.
Like if you're in box, like that's fucking weird.
So I want to share this meme because I've seen this a dozen times and I finally found it. I don't know if you guys can read it. Can you guys read that?
Yeah.
I can.
Okay.
I can't read what's on the flags, but
So, all right, how's that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
So the very top, this guy's walking down the street. He's like, "What's this?" Reaches down, picks up a flag that says Team A, and he's frowning. Across the street is a guy with a blue flag, and he's got a smile on his face. He's waving hello, and he's waving a Team B flag.
mhm.
The guy that picked up Team A didn't
So
seem to be a
true.
Team A guy at the
It's
beginning
so
of the
true.
comic. It's just like, wow, fuck that guy. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't
it's
have
so
opinion
true.
about this thing 4 panels ago, but now that guy's the worst.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's such, you know, like a thing now. It's like, oh, I love the Kardashians. I don't. I think they're the most disgusting thing that's ever happened to TV.
Yes, it's
You
that
know,
it's
like-
that black and white mentality. It's dangerous. Just consider the gray areas, people. That's it. Like, just consider those gray areas because
And
they
at the end
are
of the
all
day,
around us.
Even if you totally disagree with that person, and it's not like they want to go out and just kill everybody kind of a thing, it's okay to disagree, and they're just a person just like you. They're probably dealing with a lot of the same problems you are, or different problems, or maybe they don't have any problems. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't have any problems, but
That
that
doesn't exist.
It's just
hey, make stuff, folks. If you got some energy, you got pent up energy, you're frustrated with the world, make something instead. How about that? Just challenge yourself to take a different approach instead of making people feel bad about it. But that's easier said than done. If you're not a creative, what do you do with that energy? So read a book, right? Type an email to yourself. There's different ways.
Take a walk in the woods if you like going outside, or if you don't like going outside or are allergic to stuff, maybe don't walk in the woods.
Don't walk into the woods at night.
At least
by
wear
yourself.
jeans and wash your clothes and hands
afterwards,
because poison ivy is the worst if you're allergic to it.
It's real. That's a real problem. And ticks too. So be careful. Wherever you go, be careful. Consider the gray area, people.
Even doing something you enjoy to relieve that stress may hurt you. I was working with a Dremel today, like sanding down a figure's shoes, and I was like, I should probably have some sort of mask or eye protection on. And I'm like, too bad, I'm just doing it.
I know. Yeah.
And then as soon as I thought that, like a chunk was like back in my forehead.
Exactly. Yeah.
I still didn't put my glasses on.
See,
because they're for reading.
We're not for making.
Not for making. They're for reading.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a pair of reading glasses, they don't get much use.
You say that a lot about yourself. I have a feeling that you read more than you're letting on, Curtis.
I
really probably should have them on, being on the computer, but
I really don't. No, it's not my thing.
Hey, we all got things.
Yeah, like I'll get emails that like are important things from like my doctor or something, and I'll forward it to my wife and be like, "Hey, read this and let me know if this is anything important."
Remember what Skelly was saying about a muscle atrophying if you don't use it?
That's exactly it.
It's going to get to the point where like road signs are just going to be blurs to you.
I would say the thing that I probably read the most is subtitles on TV shows that I'm watching.
There you go.
Because I'm at that age where I have subtitles on everything that I watch.
Right? Yeah. I'm right there with you.
Because I watch too much stuff with people with accents. That's not a complaint. That's not a dig. I'm just saying that, like, it's like, what did they say? And I'd rather just have the subtitle instead of like rewinding it because I didn't catch that they said, put on your shoe. I was like, was that an important thing? Do I need to rewind this?
Yeah, I always have subtitles on. I wish that when I went to see movies in the theater that they would have subtitles in the theater.
Sometimes I wish on Toy Frenzy I had subtitles of what my friends are saying while we're talking.
Cool. So
Well,
what
you
about
do read
today?
a little bit every week, Curtis, because you
What's
read
that?
comments here. You do read a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
do
every
read
week because you
comments.
do read the
Yeah.
comments over here.
Comments and subtitles. So you
Yeah,
are
I
reading.
just don't really read like books. So what about today, Skelly? Like, what do you collect today as an adult collector?
Well, I have sort of like an eclectic group of things that I'm interested in. So if I find a good deal on a classics figure, for example, I got this guy for a really good deal.
Nice.
I will. He's kind of messed up, but I will happily grab him. Muppets, Masters of the Universe, new stuff like some of the Origins figures, some of the Masterverse figures, but not all. I'm not a completist. I got this guy from Aaron, a friend of the channel. He sent this my way because I love Stay Puft, but I'm not going to go and buy all the other Ghostbusters just because I have. So I've been trying to think like if I'm going to get something. Oh, this is a good one.
Would you say that most of it is stuff that hits you in nostalgic vibes that you're getting?
Not necessarily. This is proof of that. Colin Robinson from What We Do in the Shadows.
That's
fantastic. He's my spirit vampire because I'm like an energy vampire. But like something that I just try to focus on what is appealing to me at the moment. Like, and I have a very strong sense of resistance. So like I haven't bought all the Popeye figures that I see popping up, but I want to. There are certain characters, if they show up as available, I'll put them on my little list and look at how reasonable it will be if I get it or not. That Swamp Thing, the McFarlane Swamp Thing, is a masterpiece of an action figure, and I remember even as a kid seeing those Swamp Thing figures. Were they Kenner?
I can't remember who made them, but I know what you're talking about.
I mean, they're not great, and I remember feeling like a sense of resistance to that because I'd seen Swamp Thing in the comic books, and you can't have that be an action figure. Back then, it wasn't possible. So something like that shows up. I'm interested in that, but my steadfast, my two things that I'm probably looking into the most are the occasional vintage Star Wars figure and the occasional Origins or Masterverse release.
Gotcha.
And I totally left out this really important phase that I just went through. These Remco McDonaldland figures that you see right here above my shoulder.
Nice.
Okay.
That was a recent obsession, and I still have a deep sense of love for the McDonaldland characters. So if, like, let's say, for example, Super 7 said tomorrow that they're going to put out reaction McDonaldland characters, I would be totally hooked. I know people have their feelings about Super 7, and I do agree that $20 for a 3.75 inch figure is insane. But like, if they did that with these, then they could stand next to my Star Wars figures.
I would say, like, with the I don't collect reaction, but if I did, that would be something I could see keeping in the box because Super 7 puts a lot into the artwork on there. So yeah, I could, like, if $20 if you're taking it as the whole package and not just the little figure.
Exactly.
It makes sense.
Their card backs are beautiful. These Muppets Electric Mayhem figures, they're on their cards and they're in those little plastic cases because those are beautiful. They're just, the object itself as a package is beautiful.
Right. And you know what? The just kind of touching back on the Silverhawks thing, like that is something that I could see myself maybe get if those vac metal ones, just getting those and leave them in a package.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be so temperamental and just, but it may be worth just having them in the box and be able to look at them without, posing them and whatever. So
the vac metal dilemma with those figures is similar to the flocking dilemma with this Mossman that just came out from Origins. The flocking is right up in the joints, right? So if you're taking that figure out and you're playing with it, you're posing it for toy photos, that can be a bit of a problem. And I could very well see why someone would want to keep Mossman in the package or the Silverhawks, the vac metal Silverhawks in the package, because you want to maintain that thing that you wanted about that character. Like Mossman, I'm sorry, the Masterverse Mossman, no thank you. Mossman needs to be, I believe that Mossman should be flocked. And I want that flocking to stay intact. And I just said that, but I'm also a hypocrite because once I get that Mossman, I am definitely opening him, and I'm definitely going to take him outside and take photographs with him because I also want to smell that pine smell.
Right. I do have the Super Sevens did a Voltron. That's just like a 7-inch Voltron, and I kept that in the package because it's like I don't need to open him up and display him and have him some strange pose, but the package itself is beautiful. Like so I get displaying it in the package if you're considering the art of the package part of the entire thing that you want to see, because some of these box arts, like when I was I ended up getting rid of all my Origins, but when I had them, I was like they just the whole look of the actual package is like, man, it's like walking down a toy aisle in the 80s,
Wait, I don't know if you've taken a close look at it, but the packaging, I just ran across a Point Dread in the store, Point Dread Talon Fighter package. I hadn't seen it in person. I
just saw one at Target this past week.
I mean, looking at that artwork is phenomenal. I don't, and also the artwork on the Mossman packaging, just absolutely astoundingly beautiful. And when, I'm glad that they're coming out with a book because I'm not really one to save packaging. I'm glad they're coming out with a book of that artwork because it's awesome stuff. I mean, like Mythic Legions, the two figures that I have, the packaging, I didn't necessarily feel bad about getting rid of the packaging. And I think maybe they're doing that on purpose because these figures, you want to hold them, you want to see them up close. They're like the enjoyment of a Mythic Legions figure. I can see the appeal because it's like a real tactile experience.
Yeah, the only Legions-y, 4 Horsemen thing that I have to keep the package on is the Figure Obscura stuff. Like their Headless Horseman that they did, the Father Christmas, like they do like this really ornate,
that's true,
awesome packaging. And so like I don't necessarily need to keep the figure in the packaging, but I'm not throwing that packaging away either. Like that's something I gotta keep. So,
I've seen the packaging for the Headless Horseman. That's one that I was like, I was sad that I was
in, huh?
It was really. I didn't get it, but I thought that
still
thing
can.
didn't have. I know.
Yeah, they got the retail version that's coming out. So
I'm a list maker. So I've got things on my list. Those things. It's like I don't know if you two do this, but I have like a very structured system that's like numbered, and like it's constantly shifting. But I've got to maintain. I got to maintain an adherence to this list. It's on the list, but it's a little bit further down, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I'm not a list guy. I'm like, ooh, that's pretty. Got to get it.
Yeah, I wish I was. I wish I was that way, but it helps that my wife would just like punch me if I was that way. So yeah, she's awesome. She keeps me in check. Otherwise, my list would be a little bit more chaotic.
Man, I've done lists and then I would like I would almost hyper fixate on the list to where the things that I needed to do with the lists wouldn't happen. So I've just kind of stopped doing lists. I feel like I'm still fairly organized to an extent in some degrees, but yeah, it's an organized chaos in my brain / living area.
I like it. I like that.
The list is, if I wrote down a list, then that would also include reading the list, and that's
That's right. That's right.
I just see things, and then I just I gotta have them. So
Colin Robinson would read you the list.
nice.
Oh my gosh! And you would be asleep immediately.
Yeah. And then he'd be re-energized.
This is my E Honda look. So
yeah. I mean, how about you guys? I know that. I mean, I watch on occasion, so I kind of know what you're into, what you're both into. But anything popping up recently that you're like, oh, that's surprising. An example of this might be the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures, or what did I see recently that I thought was pretty cool? Dinosaurs from NECA, the TV show. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, you know.
I'll start because Jesse collects like everything, so
That's not true anymore.
But I am mostly.
Have a good night, Thanos.
I am mostly
Thanos.
Legions and Mondo Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
But I've started to put together kind of this little X-Men display that I'm working on. Cool. I've got some Batman and Superman figures that I've been working on, and then my Silverhawks, and then the only real weird thing that I was not expecting to get. It's like I got this thing a while ago. That's just I just think this thing is so cool.
Wow!
It's little Croc from Big Bad Toy Store.
That is amazing.
And then I got this soft goods set from Max Bird. So this thing is just kind of weird.
That's amazing.
But yeah, other than that,
so cool.
It's mostly like, you know, superheroes and masters and legions. That's about it.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm mainly legions. There are some Star Wars figures I still want to get, like new Jedi, like not reissues of Obi-Wan or resculpts of Obi-Wan or Anakin or stuff like that, but new Jedi, Ewoks.
Yeah.
For Star Wars, I want to get those, but I cleared out a bunch of stuff recently. Curtis actually got a bunch of my clones.
I did. Right there.
Cool.
The Black Series. The only real main line I'm collecting like regularly on is the NECA gargoyles.
Oh yeah, those are great. Those are cool.
Because you know, there's I think 4 more I need to get to finish off what I would want to have the collection. One more of the original characters, Angela, and then the 2 humans. You know, Elisa Maza. I've just always loved that character, so I'm very happy they're doing a figure of her, and Xanatos. Although if they do a gargoyle version of Elisa, that would be amazing, because I love that episode where she becomes a gargoyle.
I keep every time I see those figures at Target, I keep thinking whoever is collecting all of these is going to have an epic shelf. Well, that's going to be really cool.
I was thinking about doing this year, but since they're not all out, I won't. So maybe next year at Legions Con. I know it's Legions Con, not Gargoyles Con, but I think I'm going to make a dio of the clock tower of the clock wall of the police department where they roost for a while.
Yep.
I'm thinking about making that specifically for them. I have a pretty big space, a shelf where they go, which just them. So.
Oh,
that's great.
You see this from Brian? It says making a clock tower dio.
Yep.
Oh wow. That'll be impressive.
Of course, you know, Brian's is going to be, you know, phenomenal. It'll probably have like
Brian
an actual working clock,
half-ass.
gears moving around inside of it and everything.
Yeah, that's so cool.
But yeah, mostly Legions, mainly Mythic Legions. You know, some Star Wars here and there. You know, I do collect Rogue Raphael and Ahsoka stuff specifically. So, you know, I'm not going all in on the Turtles wave, but I got the Raph figure, you
Yeah.
know. If the quality of them stands up, those IDW was it the Best Action comic versions of the Turtles that they showed off at SDCC?
Oh, the Eastman Laird.
No, the current IDW series one.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that one. Oh, I think I do know that one. I think I do.
They've got like the a lot more expressive heads. You know,
Yeah,
they look
yeah.
a little more individual.
Yeah.
I think that's Beast Action or Best Action or whatever it's called. I have the Raphael from the animated series that they did, and it's so soft. Like I don't like the feeling of the plastic, so I'm a little nervous about them. But
Yeah.
I love that IDW comic series for the Turtles. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool.
I
The
want to
Eastman.
show this with Brian in the chat here. I know we showed this on Offworld, but this is the new weapons crate that he just put out.
Oh,
So if anybody hasn't picked this up, like this thing is
that's
badass. You got your
amazing.
sniper rifle there, and then you open this up. And then the sides open up, and this thing is just super well constructed.
So cool.
Yeah, that thing is just badass. So goes really well with your Tusk display. So if you got a little Tusk army going like me, hit up Brian Almeida because these things are super cool. So
That's amazing. That looks it's like a miniature version of the real thing. I mean, that's phenomenal.
And the fact that they can actually carry it around and stuff is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, these. That's right. I did see these. Those are cool.
I really love the designs of these, and I like the artist that did these, Matteo Santaloco. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I love the IDW comic run with the way they've reinvented the story and everything. So
that's cool.
That one's dangerous. That's dangerous for me because I love so many of the characters. Like I can't just get Raph on this line. So
and on those weapon crates, Brian says he's going to bring some to PowerCon if anybody wants to save on some shipping. So just FYI. So speaking of which, PowerCon next weekend. I know, Skelly, you said you're not going to be able to attend. I also am not going to be able to attend, but Jesse is going to be there.
Jesse's going to be there.
And, you know, although it's not Masters exclusive anymore, it's still pretty Masters heavy.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously any person that's a Masters fan, you know, you'd want to make it to PowerCon at least sometime in your life. But there's a lot of other folks going. I know last year was really big with Mythic Legions. It sounded like they were kind of the star of the show. Sounds like they're going even bigger this time, but I know AWOC will be there. You know, a bunch of other newer vendors. I think Matt Rodriguez is going to be there with his prototypes. So yeah, some really cool stuff. Jesse, other than, you know, obviously Four Horsemen is probably going to be the big draw, but other than them, what are you excited about for PowerCon?
I mean, I know this, especially for people in the Cabal and stuff, it's such a cliche thing. You know what? I'm going to stop prefacing that. I'm literally going to just hang out with the Legions family. Like that is literally the reason I'm going. Like I'm not trying to do a woe is me here, but like the money I have is going into gas and hotel and maybe a figure. And food. But like I'm literally just going to see people and to hang out. I mean, obviously there's tons of cool stuff. Getting to see Matt's, you know, the Defenders of Eden, like the new painted prototypes or whatever. I know he's going to have something cool there that will be exciting to see. Updates on the D13, you know, biblical adventure stuff, because Chris is going to have a table there. The AWOC stuff, if you know, creative what is it Creative Beast Studio, the Beast of the Mesozoic. I know they have a table that I didn't realize was there last year until like the last like hour or two I was there. There's just a lot of cool stuff. I'm not as interested in the cosplay and the like celebrity or the YouTube personalities that will be there. It's
Mhm.
just unless it's someone you bring up in the shelf selections, I don't really know much cosplayers.
Yeah, I mean, who cares about YouTube people?
Well, I mean, I don't want to set up it. If I would ever go to PowerCon to set up, it would be for custom stuff, not for the YouTube show.
I
mean,
don't
not
know.
that
They
I
might
don't
be
enjoy
lining up to
doing it.
get some Jesse autographs.
You know, but
Yeah,
you would have to be
it's
there.
gonna
for it. I would
happen.
not do that on my own. But
And Trevor
Yes.
brings up, obviously, we've got a new Cosmic Wave coming.
Yes.
So that is going to be revealed Friday night, which, by the way, we will be having another after party this Friday on OffWorld. Looking for some special guests. I know we had Trevor and Jeremy and David Williams on last time. Am looking for some people for this week, some special guests. So I'll be reaching out to a few folks to see if they're interested. I know a lot of people are going to be at PowerCon, so probably aren't going to be able to attend. But we'll see what we can get lined up for this Friday. But yeah, obviously new Cosmic Wave coming. Not sure what they're going to bring, but I'm expecting to see some fire because, you know, we saw the big wave one, and then, you know, you had some smaller waves that used a lot of retooling from that first wave. I'm guessing this one's going to be a lot of new tooling again. I just think we're going to see some crazy shit on Friday. I don't know, Jesse. You got any predictions or anything that you're looking forward to with that?
No, I know this is a cheap, lame answer, but I'm excited for whatever it's going to be. Making predictions. I landed the Father Christmas one. I was totally off on the Sun Wukong, so I am done making predictions. Like, because I feel like any visual images I see, I'm either going to overread into it, or it wasn't intentionally part of it. And
well, the insider information we're getting from Trevor is it's awesome.
I mean,
there you go.
It's a next wave of figures from Four Horsemen. Of course, it's awesome. Like, I'm excited for it, but I don't have a specific thing I'm excited to see because, like I said, I'm more on the mythic side. So unless they make a space fuzz monk or something equivalent to it that I will absolutely lose my mind over, I'm gonna be cherry picking.
There are two things that I'm really looking forward to. One is there's been a prediction that there may be one of these like rock creatures that we actually in my intern session with the sculpting session with Eric Treadaway, he did this like rock elemental character. And so we're wondering if some of the hints that we've seen with Cosmic might be like that race of characters. So that would be kind of cool because, you know, we sat in on that session. And then the other thing is I would just really, since this is the next big wave that we've got since the first one, and the first one had 3 Legion Builder characters, I would like to see at least one Legion Builder character in this. That's something that's a $25 figure that, you know, has some really cool parts that we can just, as a customizing community, can load up on. So those are the two things that I would really be excited for. Other than that, just like you said, I'm sure they're going to wow us with whatever it is. But Skelly, have you, jumped in at all on Cosmic, or is it something that's pulling you at all with your Star Wars background?
They're all amazing. The slog again is like, if I were to buy one that wasn't a Masters tribute figure, it would be probably that. But that's a big purchase. I'm like monitoring. I'm interested to know, like, is there going to be another tribute figure announced? Another Masters tribute figure announced? Because they always seem to throw one in as a surprise. But
I think they've already got the 2 for this year, so I don't think we'll have anything else till next year. At PowerCon, but it's tough to say what wave it'll be a part of. In the past, it's been a part of the All Stars wave. This time, it was part of a Cosmic wave. So I think the 2 that we've got, the Whiplash and the Manny Faces one, are probably just the 2 for this year.
I just love seeing anything that they make.
Yeah.
It's all great stuff.
Oh, I am excited to pick up the Demistros figure. I know he's not part of Mythic or Cosmic. It's its own actual made for the show exclusive. I just think I know it's some of its parts we already have if you have them, but that translucent green, I'm gonna have to try really hard not to eat it because green is my favorite color. And tidbit about me, I love ice cream cake, like
Oh,
Dairy
I do
Queen
too.
Carvel ice cream cake, right?
Oh, so good.
And when I was a kid, and if I got that for my birthday cake, it had like that translucent green piping lettering, like that gel lettering.
Yeah.
That's the only pieces I wanted from the cake had to have the green lettering on it. Like,
yes.
So
that's fantastic.
But yeah,
See,
no, I think
when I was a
really
kid,
cool.
ice cream was ice cream and cake was cake. There was no. If you wanted ice cream cake, you took a piece of cake and ice cream and you mushed them together in this
Like
slurry.
this.
No, there's
then
no
you ate
cake.
them.
There's no cake in ice cream cake. It's just the way it's put together.
Gotcha. Yeah, we didn't have that when I was a kid.
But you know what it is, right?
I know what it is. It's just,
I mean,
it's not for me.
Oh, he's saying that. Curtis is saying that, Jesse. But you serve him up a slice of ice cream cake, he'll be converted immediately.
No, I've had it. It's just not for me. I give me some chocolate cake and vanilla ice cream, and I'll mix it together into a slurry, and that's for me.
All right.
Yeah,
I like it. We had this.
I mean, hey, keep it simple.
Yeah. Scoop of chocolate, scoop of vanilla. Don't waste my time.
No green slime piping for Curtis.
Yeah, that's
he
true.
just wants the black and the white.
I really am not a icing fan. Like typically when I get a piece of cake, like birthday cake or something, I scrape off all the icing and give it to my wife.
Oh,
yeah.
I like a cream cheese frosting. But if it's just like a frothy frosting that's just sugar, it just doesn't really do much for me.
If it's like that really airy, like grocery store, Walmart, like that really frothy, icing. No, I don't like that. Yeah. Or like I can't stand peanut butter icing.
I've never even heard of.
I've never had that before.
Okay, so quick story. Years ago, I started working at a church in the maintenance department, and the supervisor asked me when my birthday was, asked me what kind of cake I liked. I was like, birthday cake or ice cream cake. And she's like, I'm not making you an ice cream cake. I was like, I didn't ask you to. Well, then why did you say ice cream cake was your favorite? I was like, because it is my favorite. Well, I'm not making that for you. I'm like, what are you asking me? She's like, what kind of cake do you want for your birthday? I was like, could you have just said that? So I was like, what are the options? And she's like, like chocolate cake with chocolate icing, vanilla cake with chocolate, all the different ones. And, she's like, everybody really likes the peanut butter icing. I'm like, I don't like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I don't like peanut butter icing on cake. And that's all she makes was chocolate cake with peanut butter icing. Everybody gets chocolate cake with peanut butter. I'm like, why do you even ask?
Too bad. You have a peanut allergy. Too bad.
I was in there when someone new was starting and she asked the question. I was like, just say chocolate cake with peanut butter icing because that's what you're going to get.
That's hilarious.
So no, but yeah, no, I mean, riding the scooters this year, as Brian said earlier, will be fun because I'm riding out with Brian and Benny, and I can't remember if there's someone else in the car or if that's just.
But Brian said, looking forward to Jesse and Scooters. I thought Scooters was a nickname for somebody. I didn't realize he actually meant scooters.
Yes. There's those, they have the Columbus. I don't know if they'll still be there, but last year they had those like rental scooters where you take your phone, you scan the barcode and you pay like $5 and you get it for like 2 hours or something.
That's
cool. Well, or you were going with like Brian and Benny, so I thought maybe that was Benny's nickname was Scooters. And if you guys
threw me off because he capitalized
all weekend, like that.
So if Scooters is a person, I don't know them by that name yet, but I'm pretty sure he means the rental scooters.
I totally expect you guys to call Benny scooters all weekend.
But it stressed me out at first because I was exhausted. I won't say starving, but I was undernourished at that point. But we got on these scooters
because
to
they
like
wouldn't
go.
let you eat fast food.
Yeah. It had been over 24 hours since I had eaten, and
Oh my goodness. You don't want to be around me if it's been more than like 5 hours since I've
not
eaten
only
something.
am I just getting hangry and irritable and
Yeah.
trying to keep it in check, which whenever I get mad and irritated and people are like, oh no, you weren't doing anything wrong. I was like, oh really? Because I thought I was like really going off on people. They're like, no, like you are maybe like one level up in your volume than normal, but that's it. I'm like, man, I thought I swore at somebody, you know. But yeah, make me hungry, make me tired. And you know, if I don't eat the right stuff or enough stuff, like I'll like literally just pass out and crash. So
Yeah. I'm the same way.
Anyway, I've got all my food. I went to Ollie's and got a bunch of food for the car ride. So if they won't stop at a restaurant, I'll at least have snacks to eat.
There you
Nice.
go. Smart. I noticed JMax77 in the chat said doesn't like Frazetta or ice cream cake. So is he saying to you, Curtis, that you don't like Frazetta?
I do not dislike Frazetta, but I am not over the moon about Frazetta like some people are. Like, it's not anything that it doesn't do it for me. So
yeah, I love Frazetta, but I also love a lot of those illustrators working during that era on sci-fi, fantasy, book illustrations and magazine illustrations.
I appreciate the artists and the creators and directors and stuff, like people that have been influenced by Frazetta. Like Frazetta has led to some things that I really enjoy, but his artwork itself, like if I look at it, it doesn't do anything for me. I can appreciate his influence for sure. It's just not my thing. So
the connection between him and Rudy Obrero, for example, is so strong. Without so I'm sure you appreciate Rudy Obrero, and that's probably part.
I mean, once again, it's not like because of the nostalgia of it for sure,
right.
But the the art itself, like I like more crisp lines, things that are pretty and detailed and not as abstract, I guess. So
for sure, yeah. There's a definite like loose painterly aspect to his work.
Like after one of our shows, I think when Chris Ferrone was on, he was showing me some stuff from Larry Elmore that was doing like the D&D covers and stuff. And that was definitely more my style, like things that I like.
Well, you have an attention for detail, so that makes sense. Like, with your work, if you're painting an action figure with that sort of loose painterly style, it's not going to look very good.
Well, it can like for instance, like, and we had a show where we were talking with Trevor on this and stuff, and like I've seen there's this God's Fire series from Wool Kid Customs, which is parts for these Templars and stuff, and they create this bio for a character and they put these parts on stuff, and I've seen like Stephen Bisciotti or somebody else put out a version of that character where he's just muddy and dirty and grimy, like a Templar knight that's actually been in battle and just he's seen a lot of battle and he's fresh off of a battle. Whereas when I do mine, it's like they're in the temple and it's clean and the uniform is crisp and all the lines are perfect and everything. Not that he's never seen battle, but right now he's not.
right now he's presentation quality, like he's in his Sunday best.
Yes, very much so.
That's good.
That's so when I do something like not too long I did like a skeleton with a rusted helm and stuff. That's very hard for me, like just doing something that's more grimy and dirty and like it's not my style.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do it to like test myself or to push my limits, but it's not something that comes natural for me.
That's a really important place to be, where you know where your strengths are, and you know what your challenges are, and that you're willing to like face those challenges.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be.
Yep. Domes are pretty. Yeah. Soft goods can be pretty.
Ice cream cake is pretty.
Ice cream cake can be pretty. I like I've really warmed up to the soft goods. I just don't like the full body suits for the most part. And when the soft goods don't, to me, it's weird when it looks like soft goods from our world on a figure of that size.
Yeah.
Like when the threads are too big, or the material itself is too thick, those kind of things. So
yeah.
But yeah, Brian says he loves weathering stuff, especially rust. So that it's just not something for me. Like it's like I had one figure that I did that on, and I took like pictures of the progress pictures throughout the way. And so like I painted this thing up and had these very detailed lines and stuff. And then I weathered it all and like made it like it was a snowy figure. So I was like adding all these snow features and all this kind of stuff. And then afterwards I was like, oh, I took this pretty thing and I made it like, and like the final product, like some people really enjoyed it, but I like 2 steps earlier before it was all, yeah.
So Jesse, are you doing any? You're not doing any builds for this year? Like last year, didn't you bring a diorama that you had made to PowerCon?
No. Brian, Do Art Studios in the chat here, he is the one who made the dio that was
I think
at
he's
the
talking
Four
about the
Horsemen
ones
table
that you had at your table, Jesse, because
the one that
that's for Legion's Con. So yeah, I've got 2 pretty big ones, one for Mythic, one for Cosmic, that I'm working on. I sent Curtis some pictures of my potential table setup.
I can't wait to see. I love your builds, man.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Jesse had me like freaking out this weekend because he's like sending me this designs of how his table's gonna look and stuff, and I'm like, oh shit, I haven't done any of that. I'm like, I got to get a tablecloth, and I need to get these shelving units, and I need to reach out to somebody about signage, and so
that's cool.
But yeah, so I'll have those 2 big ones, and I'll hopefully have some smaller ones. Since Detolfs are going extinct, I'm not gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna try to make anything specifically for Detolfs. I had this one idea that I was going to do, like, are they 4 cubes tall or 5 cubes tall?
They're 4.
I was going to do like a 5 tier thing. So the top one would sit on top, and it would be like a mine shaft going down, or like a bisection going down to where you'd have like the ground level at the top. And then you'd have like different sections with like a rope going down. And obviously you'd have to fake it out because, you have the glass shelves between, but make it look like, it was going down to like a lower portion. That might not happen this year, but I'm going to try to make some other smaller things that are, like 1 or 2 figure things. So if you want to take pictures of your customs, or if you just want to put like on a normal bookshelf, something that'll fit in there, just to kind of accentuate a figure or 2, a couple little things like that, as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's cool. I'm excited to see it.
Me too.
Beautiful. I think that's kind of a show.
It feels like a show.
Yeah. Skelly, you got anything else coming up that you want to promote? Any shows? Any things that you want people to know about?
If you're interested in checking out the builds that I've made, they're on my Instagram. I've got build videos. I've made 3 different snake mountains. You can watch those the step-by-step videos on YouTube. And I don't know if this is going to happen. I'm just saying it though. which probably will make it not happen, which is bad. Anyways, I'm gonna say it anyways. The previous owner of the Castle Grayskull I made, which is the first build that I did, I've recently it's come back into my possession. So so I'm thinking about doing some work on that because it was my first one. Of course, I see a lot of improvements that need to be made. So that could potentially be a project for the fall. I work best in the fall and the spring on these things because I work outside primarily. Summers here are absolutely hell. So so I might start working on that in the fall. But on Thursday nights, tune into the Toy Frenzy. I co-host that show with Oz, Sean, Adam, and Bobby. Those of you who are fans of Masters of the Universe, you know that Bobby is Vintage Motu on Instagram. Adam is Battle Ram Blog. Sean is Sean Scavarna from Legends of Grayskull podcast, and Oz is Ostradamus Toys. So those are Thursday nights. We're going to be, Oz is going to hopefully be, streaming in from PowerCon on Thursday night. Of course, it's like before everything begins, but he's going to be over there. So that'll be a fun show. I think that's it. I also want to say, Jesse and Curtis, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a huge admirer of both of you.
Thank you.
When Curtis was on my periphery before I had a chance to meet Jesse, because Curtis, as you were saying earlier, you were part of the Motu community, and like we'd be like in passing online quite a bit. And Jesse, I got to meet Jesse through Sean from Legends of Grayskull podcast, and I'm just really stoked that you guys had me on here, and this was a lot of fun. This conversation went into areas that were unexpected, and thank goodness for that. Like it was stuff I needed to hear other people say, to get out of my head about it. So that was really important. And, you guys have talked about it before on previous episodes, but like mental health is really important, and perspective taking is such a huge part of that. And I worry about folks that have a hard time with that. So it was great to, and I have a hard time with it too. I mean, everybody has a hard time with it, right? So it was great to talk about that with you guys. And anyways, thank you both so much for having me.
We've had a few people tell us that they're surprised, like how unscripted it is, like, because the conversation does very much flow. Like there's not many awkward pauses. And sometimes we do get into some serious, discussions and serious topics, but I think it's good. I think it's good for us. We've gotten some really good feedback on some of the things that we've had discussions on. So appreciate you hanging out with us. I think that was it was a really good discussion tonight. I liked, especially the how to not be toxic in the fandom kind of thing.
Yeah, it's important.
It was good. Yeah,
good. It like necessary stuff.
Who knows? Really... Maybe you guys have seen me break my last figure on here. So.
Hey, but we have to allow ourselves that feel the feels too. You know what I mean? Like that's a really important thing. Like get those feelings out. And I think what you did, I think the way you handled it was honest and real and important. And there was a little bit of a comedic element to that too. Like I said previously, that it was entertaining too. And that's being true is very important. And sometimes we find ourselves carried away on like the emotional stuff, and it's good to just be true. It's the mental health show. Well, perfect.
I'm fine with that tagline. Like the more we talk about this stuff, the less, and I don't just mean us, this group of people, but the more it gets talked about, the less of a stigma it has, the less of a like, and people can deal with it. And then, as a whole, we can move on to, it's not looked down on. It's just a thing people deal with and learning, all sorts of stuff. So
Yep.
my words are failing me.
No,
I
you're
used
saying
exacerbated at the top of the show, and I think that tapped out my mental capacity. So
I get it. No, you said it. You said it exactly right. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you guys. I just want to say thank you. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate being on here.
Yeah,
it's
it was
really
fun.
good to have you. I'm sorry we didn't get into I didn't pull any of your stuff up. We'll definitely try to have you back on sometime, probably next year, and
Yeah, we just left more for the next show.
get to look at your builds and stuff, because
you did put the links down there so people can just
Yeah.
go check it out. I think the videos are pretty entertaining. so go check it out,
check
folks.
them out there.
Yeah.
And just seeing the sheer size of those dioramas you made are mind-blowing, in my opinion. So
I will say that
and they're gorgeous.
Thank you very much. The purpose was to make play sets as opposed to, something that you could actually like either use to display your figures or actually play with. And I think diorama building is an amazing, exciting craft. And people just do really cool stuff with that. Like I said, I love what you're doing with that. And I love seeing what people make. I love seeing that. Building environments was ever since I was a kid was like a dream of mine. And it's unrealistic, because you're building these things that are big and they should go in places where they can be permanent. And so you got lucky. You found a collector to take your diorama piece. We want to, I think making stuff like this and making customs and making collection pieces, like large collection pieces like that, they deserve to be in people's houses where they can be appreciated. And I don't know where I was going with that. I guess what I was going with that is that if anybody has a room that they want to have renovated into a giant walk-in collector's diorama paradise, just let me know. I'll be happy to talk to you about it.
There you go, folks.
Yeah, and Alexander said dio making is therapeutic, and
yes,
I think that goes for all of this stuff. Kind of like Skelly was talking about earlier. Just like create something. Like if you're creating anything, I know we talked about it on the last episode. Neuroplasticity and just kind of what part of your brain are you feeding, and if you're feeding that creative part of your brain, it does help you to be more in that space and spend more time in that space. And that does make you feel better about things in general. So regardless of whether, don't get caught up in, is my stuff as good as somebody else's or whatever, that's all BS. Just create to create. So,
you know why it's BS? Because good is fluid.
Yeah.
Right. What's good
and
today?
Subjective. Yeah.
Exactly. What's good today may not be good tomorrow, but who the F cares? Like if you're afraid to do something because you see how amazing, if you're afraid to do a custom because you see how amazing something Curtis made, and you're comparing yourself to that, that's always going to stop you. That's always going to stop you. So don't do that. Just have fun with it. Mess it up. Have a blast. And just know that you're doing it for yourself. And if people happen to like it, then that's just an additional blessing.
And sometimes those mess ups become happy accidents. So
Bob Ross, man, that's so true. So true.
All right, Skelly, we're gonna bump you to the green room. If you've got to go, that's fine. Otherwise, hang out and we'll talk to you after we close out the show, and then we'll go from there. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Skelly.
Yep. See ya. Another fun one, Jesse.
Absolutely. Oh, there it is. I finally said it. I said your tagline a couple times there. Now I'm dropping my own.
Folks, it may be good for other people's mental health, but it's definitely good for mine. I know that for sure. So
yes.
I know you and I had talked this week. We're on the path to getting 500 subscribers. We've still got a bit to go. But we're starting to put some plans together on some giveaway stuff and maybe some exciting things. So if you're out there, you're watching, whether it's live or on the replay, and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. We do have some cool stuff that's getting ready to be planned. We'll be making some announcements, I think, here in the near future. But yeah, that definitely help us get towards that number, and yeah, that'd be great.
That would definitely be a lot of fun. It was weird making a push for, I think, 100 subscribers last year, so I could officially change the name that I was able to do sometime
I
last
remember
July
that.
or last June.
Yeah.
So to see that the channel has grown this much in that time is really amazing. It's just really fun hanging out with you every week, and all the guests and all the people that hang out in the chat. I think I can speak for both of us that we really appreciate everyone who shows up, whether it's here or dropping comments after the show when you watch it later in the week or whatever. We really appreciate it and enjoy that. We're going to try to hopefully do a little bit more interactive stuff coming forward, like we were saying, with once we hit that goal, and maybe doing that the viewer shelf selection episode at some point.
Yep.
But yeah, good stuff is coming.
And then
we already talked about the shows this week.
This week, Friday, we're going to be doing an after party. We'll probably set it for, like a certain o'clock or whatever. After, I think they had theirs was going to end at 10:30 Eastern, so we'll probably set it for 11 Eastern. But we'll start basically as soon as the 4 horsemen are done. And be on the lookout. We'll post something in the Cabal later this week, with, whatever guests that we get. We may keep something as a surprise, but I'm going to try to get some cool guests lined up. Might be some more West Coast folks. So maybe some people that can't make it to PowerCon that'll be available. So we'll kind of look for those West Coast contacts. So
what the night is looking like. Because I'm not sure. I know last year, like, we went back to the room. I think I was asleep by that time. But since that show's going to be going on, the reveal party and everything, I will, if it's a way I can get on to the after party at some point, I will. But I will definitely be back in time, barring any traffic situations. The plan is to be back in plenty of time for next Sunday night.
Beautiful.
Which we already mentioned. We've got Jesse. Fair reason. There you
go.
Toy photographer will be joining us next week, Sunday night, on the shelf, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yep. And I think we're going to probably spend quite a bit of time going through his Instagram and just looking at a lot of really cool things. So that should be a lot of fun.
Yes. So we'll be talking to him next Sunday night, and hopefully, I don't know, Mythic Minute depends on when I get picked up by Brian and the guys to head out to Ohio, but I will try to do something for Mythic Minute this week.
Maybe you'll have to do a live on the road Mythic Minute.
If Wi-Fi lets me connect, I will totally try that. No promises about waking Brad up in his bed again this year. I don't think we're doing that. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I haven't heard anything if we are. So
beautiful. Okay.
All right.
Well, then, until next time.
What's in your wallet? No, wait. What's on your shelf?
That's it.